What's up, everybody?
What's going on?
Wes and Hank.
Yeah.
Here we are. We're flying the missing man formation just temporarily. Just temporarily.
Not
Andy's,
long. Not long. There'll be more beard than you can count shortly.
Andy's running a little late tonight, but that's okay. We told him we'd hold the fort down. We can.
I'm on an angle like a Batman villain. I don't know what's going on with my computer.
I don't know.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Would it help if I counterbalance you?
I'll
Does that
wait.
Does that help?
I'll lean the other way.
What's going on, man?
Living the dream. Couldn't be better. I mean, Star Wars Renaissance. I mean, remember 3 years ago, we're like, oh, it's the golden age. But like,
that is true, yeah.
But now, like, you know,
are we
so much has
saturation?
happened in 3 years. I don't know. Maybe I can't get enough. I mean,
I feel the same way. I mean, and I say that as a
maybe if it was every single night, like if it was, like the Honeymooners, if there was 152 episodes, and then only probably in terms of being able to try to review something like that would it bother me. But you just look in 3 years how far.
I think of us as Star Wars survivors, and I mean that in the lightest sense of, the real dark times, that 15-year period where there was nothing. And so I think I'm still there with you. I'm in this position where, like, well, new Star Wars is better than none at all.
It really is.
And there really hasn't been anything. Big asterisk. There really hasn't been anything that I've been like, this is crap.
No.
I even muzzled through Resistance. Now, that I could not cite a single episode of that show, but my eyes did view it.
Right.
And even that.
I don't think anything has been just like, this will sustain me till something better comes along. I think everything has been like pretty high quality, of the highest quality they could muster at any rate. I mean,
yeah.
I can't say the same thing for Marvel lately.
No, and I would wholeheartedly agree with that. Although I did get the first episode of Loki.
Oh, belly laugh for that elevator scene.
I did like that.
Spoilers with the girl sitting there.
I mean, talk about Renaissance. How about Ke Huy Quan?
Oh man, he's brilliant.
I'm back.
Hold on to your potato.
I'm back.
Man, he's brilliant.
He is. He's so good.
He's super good in that.
Yeah. Now we just need to get him into Star Wars somehow.
It's a hop, skip, and a jump now that he's in the Disney camp.
He's adjacent, so I mean, all you got to do is walk down the hall,
right,
and there you are. I just want to say a quick thank you to those of you who are just discovering us now. We've had a recent influx of new subscribers to the channel, so thank you very much for checking out Fandom Power on YouTube. That being said, a lot of you folks are finding our shorter form videos and have been commenting on them, saying that you want more. More is coming. We're with the ending of Ahsoka, we're at this precipice where we can go one of two ways. We could launch into something else review-wise, or we can settle back and we can do some more short-form content, which I kind of think might be the way forward. Yeah. Hank's got an unboxing video coming up here pretty soon.
Wicked.
I have it on good authority that it's getting worked on.
Wicked. That was super fun, and I just did it. I was just like, I just got this package today, and what the hell?
I also want to say thank you for those of you who have stuck with us. By and large, we started this, and I don't mean the show, but I do mean the Ahsoka Fano show. If you include our Road 2 episodes, this by far has been our longest running review series to date, and it has been an incredible journey. Wouldn't be the same without an audience, so we absolutely thank you for joining us for that.
That's true,
especially in light of, we will never be first, but we tend to be thorough, so
I think so.
I think so.
Super, like, you know, if I toot my horn to people when I tell them in the real world about us, I tooted about us being so consistent. There's, you know, there's not a lot of podcasts, and if we're gonna, you know, no one else is gonna do it for us.
Excuse
not
me.
a lot of podcasts that are week in, week out, steady like a metronome over for 3 years,
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah, three years and counting, by the way. So if you were a fan of our non-Star Wars content, like our Tuesday nights and some of the other short form videos, we're just launching into our fourth season here in the month of October,
Man.
2023. Hard to believe, 3 years at it. And yet, here we are, chugging away.
Yeah, and it doesn't. It's never got boring. It's never gotten sort of tedious. It's been challenging. There's, you know,
that whole,
who would have thought that kind of thing? Like,
what do you mean? There's this real life? What do you mean?
Yeah, but rewarding too. Like the things I've really learned about Star Wars since I
absolutely
professed myself, I'm a know-it-all. I'll do the show with you.
I feel like when
the stuff that I've actually learned.
Yeah. I know way more about like things that I would never have read or looked at.
I feel like if we rolled a role-playing game right now, we'd kick ass.
That's right. Well, let's talk a little bit. Let's stay on topic here, and let's talk about Ahsoka. I want to get some of the broader stuff sort of while we're waiting for Andy tonight. Let's talk broad strokes here about the series as a whole. Now that it's all wrapped up, just start with the obvious one. Where does it land for you? Let's give it a score. Where are you at with
it? Like in terms of the rest of the series?
Yeah, the series as a whole, like all eight episodes.
All 8 episodes. 10 out of 10 every single episode. I mean, nothing really disappointed me about the whole thing. And like if you were to break it up into categories, like the directing has been spot on. The writing has been spot on. And when I mean writing, I don't know if there's anybody helping. Like, you know, I know there's a guy that's the head of but there's usually a team of people that, you know, you're dipping in and out of. The dialogue has been spot on. The performances have been spot on. The choreography, for the most part, has been really tight. There's been a few things that kind of looked like overperformed, but I would say spot on. And the effects have been probably 15 out of 10. Like, I can't say enough. It's absolutely my favorite thing that they've done yet, except for Rebels in terms of Disney Star Wars. Absolutely my favorite thing. And I'm a big fan of all the other things.
Yeah. I'm hesitant to go 10 out of 10 because there are very few entertainment properties, and it's not just, you know, television, but movies and books and comics and all that stuff that we love, video games, you know, like 10 out of 10, that's like saying like it's perfect. And I don't know if it's perfect, but man, like if I could just like give it a 9.99999999999, the other minuscule percentage is all of the stuff that the other guys are like banging their pots together. Oh my God, this is so bad. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. I don't even get it. Doesn't even register. I don't, you know.
I was really taken back in the last 2 episodes by how much off-camera stuff happened and that you had to infer it, but I didn't have it wasn't hard for me to get there.
No,
it felt very natural for me.
Yeah, and I don't have that other perspective of not having seen Rebels and Clone Wars.
That's true. That's so true.
I can't imagine that perspective, right? But yeah. So a lot of people are really, and I tried in group chats and stuff on Facebook and Instagram, I try to gently just push people in that direction. Like it's not. I don't know if you think cartoons are for kids. I don't know if that's what you think, but that's certainly not the case.
Yeah.
Go watch Akira. Like, you know, so there's a difference between probably what they think cartoons are and what animated.
I think so. Yeah.
Animated,
especially animation that is specifically targeted for adults. Not saying that the Clone Wars was, but I mean, again, you look at the folks who are doing the writing, and they are in our age group. So, I mean, when you make the joke about Disney Star Wars is just, glorified fanfic. Yep.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
Big fan right here.
Anything not written by George Lucas is technically fan fiction.
Yeah. And again, is it? Isn't it? I mean, George is separate. I mean, we can go the legal route.
Yeah,
the legal route says no. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel it's a thin argument, and I see that argument online a lot. It's like, well, George Lucas says this. Yeah, but George Lucas is separated from the property now, so he can come out and he can come out and say, wow, Luke Skywalker's eyes are actually brown because he's full of shit. Well, you know what I mean? But it wouldn't matter.
It wouldn't matter anymore. No.
Yeah.
But he could.
It's a terrible example, by the way.
He could start a war. He could.
Well, I'm gonna buy the company back because
I didn't know that people were complaining about the female leads in the show. I hadn't seen that until recently, and I think they have.
You know what? I think I tried to keep my eyes off of it when I saw controversial headlines or comments that sort of, talked about their position within the story. I think the big one that comes up, for me, the one that, like, I should say the one that stands out for me is and I saw it recently, the attributing, equating Sabine's Jedi training to Rey. How they are, no training. You know what? That's a very thin argument in my world.
It's crazy
when Luke Skywalker had hours potentially of training before he took out the Death Star with a 90-degree torpedo turn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, I don't understand how you can be so angry at that.
No, it's crazy. There's a great clip of Dave Filoni I saw today. And it was, I don't know, just after Rogue One had come out. And he basically said, Force Awakens come out and people are complaining that it's a female protagonist. And then
great.
Yeah, she was great. Rogue One, which is, we both have our Rogue One is incredible. And we have a female protagonist again. And he basically said,
Rogue One, what?
Yeah.
What?
Two female protagonists out of the 20 million. And he just
my gosh, yeah, seriously.
Tough. He said, literally, he just said tough. And I was like, yes, that's amazing.
That's a great answer. That's just tough. Just go back in your hole.
Right. Like, that's
climb back into your hole. We got more questions and we got answers. The big one, we touched on it briefly last week when I had, talked about the recasting comments that have been floating around.
Right.
Now it's not so much about if. I feel like now it's a matter of who. I don't feel like they're done with his story.
No, but I would be okay.
Body double and CGI face?
Not even that. I would be okay if we left it dangling right there. We know it's so little
never went back
to since maybe not never, but there's a lot of different ways we could visit that story that aren't necessarily recasting a character. I mean, you got to be a Bale and Skull video game about the Mortis gods.
That's interesting.
Or, I mean, a really good novel, or the comics are so good. There's a lot of media that they could delve into.
That was my
super okay with them leaving him on the cliff and us knowing not a damn other thing about whatever that little beacon he was seeing. And
yeah.
If they want to let that fester for 15 years, I could handle it. My head is already just spinning with fan fiction about what's going on there.
I feel like his story is just incomplete. And then my follow-up question is, how can you have a Bale and Skull story without having Bale and Skull? And when you say other media, Doug, other media might actually be the way to go. But then there's the reciprocal about all the flack that we're hearing about now. Why do I have to watch something else? Why do I have to read something? Well, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
But
you don't.
This is a character that's been introduced, though, in live action media, which, I mean, outside of the movies, I think is probably if we're going to weigh them all, and maybe that's a loaded statement. I shouldn't even say that. Nope, I take that back. I can't do that. I can't honestly do that.
Remember the thing I said about Carrie Fisher? Remember,
Yeah.
like, you don't. Okay, so we could recast this guy. He doesn't owe Star Wars that much, and Star Wars doesn't owe him much. God bless him, and I'm really sorry for his family's loss and stuff. And
absolutely,
and he's an incredible talent, and what a performance. But it's not like recasting Carrie Fisher. It's not like recasting Harrison Ford. It's which we've done.
That's right.
Which we've done.
Yeah.
So if they're going to go that direction, I don't see the big deal. And the with people throwing out the Liv Schreiber memes already,
man, that's the one I can get behind.
He looks pretty great.
That is the one of all of the
great.
Of all of the faces I've seen floating around. He's the one that I can get behind the most. Somebody put out one earlier this week. It was a shot of basically old man Sam Neill.
Gary Busey. At the top of the mountain, there's buttered sausage.
I have a hard time imagining, although Sam Neill is British, so he's got that part down. Liev is going to have to work on his British if he gets the role.
I think almost nobody does their own accent in Star Wars. They're always like, okay, we need a British guy. Let's hire an American. we need a New Zealand accent. Let's just hire D. Bradley Baker.
Yeah, really. Or, like Carrie Fisher. She flipped in and out of it the whole first movie.
Yeah.
Are you British or not? I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is it because of the British actor? Is it because you're standing there talking to Peter Cushing, who's like as British as they can be, and you're just swept up in it?
I think it was supposed to be indicative, and I've never actually gotten a conclusive answer. And I've watched every making of documentary you can get your paws on. And I think it was that she was supposed to be speaking more formally when being a senator. And those walls would come tumbling down when she was actually that little rebel princess that she actually is.
Doug's got an interesting comment. And this falls right into that. Like, this is the slippery slope. Some of us should get rewarded for consuming most things Star Wars, leave the weak behind. So you start drawing that, you start putting those lines in the sand.
I agree with the sentiment.
Yeah.
But it's scary because how do you stop that?
How do you quantify who's a it's like saying I'm a better fan because I know more. And I just
right.
You know what? How about you were a more educated fan? And I think that's, again, we talked about this in our gatekeeping episode. All this stuff comes from these like wonderful places of wanting to, because we're passionate about this stuff.
What's
sometimes
better?
The delivery.
What's better than a little kid, like a 5 or 6 year old that is just encountering something like Star Wars for the first time, that doesn't know anything, where it's wide open and they've seen one little, like where the future is the potential of everything they know about it.
Yeah.
That's probably pure fandom. You know what I mean? Before we start to put all the, because we 85% of it is nostalgia for us. You have to admit it. That's what keeps us coming back, is that I wish I could be in the theater see that crawl again in that moment beside those people. And for me, a lot of my Star Wars is attached to experiences I had viewing Star Wars in my life. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah. This is a great follow-up though, Doug. Don't leave things out because non-fans won't get it. But they've done that. This Ahsoka is proof positive that they've done that. There's no explanation of the Mortis gods. There's no explanation of the world between worlds. You either get it or you don't. And if you don't, what's the difference between that or we didn't know that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father?
Sure. We're watching a historical fiction that you didn't know you've never read the news articles on. So you're learning about Gallipoli for the first time or whatever.
I just feel whenever they introduce something new in Star Wars, at least between 77 and 83, there wasn't all of the content that woven through the fabric of Star Wars to fill in all those blanks. And just the sense of wonderment and discovery was just maybe more pure. Is that the right way to say that? I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it. And I absolutely agree with the sentiment. I could see where people will start they could twist those things, the same as Doug's comment. But I just remember, like, maybe I was too young to remember about the first movie, but I do remember that I could not stop thinking about what happens next after The Empire Strikes Back. And I was probably 10, 9.
Yeah.
But I was so preoccupied with what happens next. And then having the action figures and being able to go, this is what's going to happen next. Or, oh, well,
yeah,
actually,
that's right. Creating your own story.
And I think the thing that probably stuck out the most to me was probably that there is another. And so it's just like you slap a lightsaber in every single character's hand till something makes sense to you, like
hold on to that thought for a second, because that came up this week as well. And I actually think that's a great line. We should talk about that. Just notice that we're getting some more people filing into the stream tonight. I just want to just catch everybody up. We're running a little bit late tonight. Andy's got some other things going on that's prevented him from being here with us, but he is coming. He is coming. So we're just delaying a little bit. We will get to the episode breakdown. I promise that. It is the finale. We want to make sure that we do that justice. So we're not gonna launch into it without him. So we're just kind of filling some time. We're just kind of talking about our thoughts on Ahsoka and in Star Wars in general while we're waiting. So please hit us up in the comments and join in the conversation. Where was I going? Oh yeah. There is another. What's interesting is I saw that come up in one of the groups this week where that statement was talked about, and completely new context when you watch it. They don't infer that it's another Skywalker. They just infer that there is another.
Yes, it's true.
I mean, we take it now for being Leia because of the events of Return of the Jedi. Leia is my sister. But even
when he wrote it,
reveal,
when he wrote
that, no, exactly.
When he wrote it, the other wasn't Leia.
I don't know who it is. I don't know who it is, but I got a couple years to figure it out.
I mean, certainly it wasn't anybody that hadn't been created yet either.
Right, exactly.
But that's the ironic part is she wasn't related to him until the third script.
I love looking at that or reading that comment through the lens of Ahsoka, Cal Kestis, Quinlan Voss, and every other
and Ezra Bridger now.
Everybody who's survived in some form of media or another, that another.
Oh, I see it during that timeline. Yes, absolutely.
That there could be. It doesn't necessarily point to Skywalker lineage, although that's very cool.
I mean, I've heard it said too, and this is controversial as well, but that Ahsoka is more of a Skywalker than Rey would ever be
because of her connection to Anakin.
Right. Like, I mean, she's, it's almost a father-daughter relationship. Like, I don't mean them specifically because they're more of like a brother-sister, but that Padawan master relationship is like a mantle being handed down. Let's blow that. Talk about. I mean, he talks about the legacy that she belongs to. Like,
we should blow that one wide
open.
Those
are her grandparents.
The counter one to that, which is equally, and I mean, you can take it for humor, or you can take it as like, oh, there's a point there.
Somehow Palpatine is returning.
So there it is, right? If Palpatine manipulated the midichlorians to produce life in Shmi.
Mm-hmm.
Then that means every Skywalker is a Palpatine on some level.
It's very true.
We're going to talk about parentage, and true. The genetic soup don't matter.
Well, apparently any Mandalorian can just wield the Force.
I love the fact that
I love the fact that it was like the lightsaber was the first, because that was Luke's first, realistically, his first ability. And I love that the rhyming stanzas.
How to swing a sword.
Yeah, man.
I was okay with it. I was okay with it then. I'm okay with it now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, folks who have watched our show, like, you already know my thoughts on that. Like, Sabine was confirmed as a Force user long before she got the deflecting a bullet back into somebody's face was not a fluke.
Yeah.
She might not have known she was.
And for me, and this was a little more controversial even amongst us, was for me, she's been a Force user since that episode in Rebels where she was training with Kanan, where he says she's blocked.
And
I feel like, she was blocked right up into the moment she reached her hand out and that thing leapt into her hand.
Interesting.
It sort of like reminded me of the way the X-Men's powers manifest. Suddenly there's like crazy amount of stress and it matters, and then boop, your mutant power kicks in.
But it kind of falls back into what Ahsoka said. I don't need her to be a Jedi. I just need her to be who she is.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
doesn't Broom Boy make way more sense in that context? It's like that idea of anybody can be a Jedi has been batted around at Lucasfilm. And I think that they have to, exactly.
It had to have been. And again, I mean, I don't want to harp on the whole thing, but I mean, as fans of the role-playing game, anybody could be force sensitive. Anybody could be a Jedi.
Yeah.
It's just there was never a thought in my mind. It's like we look at what a Jedi is in the earliest concepts of what a Jedi is. Let's go back to, you are all that's left of that ancient religion. That's like saying you can't be a Catholic or you can't be a Buddhist. Pretty sure I can.
Yeah, I do it.
Pretty sure I can.
Watch me do.
Yeah, so I do like it.
Yeah,
I do like it.
That Doug makes an interesting point there.
Oh, this one. Yoda said, oh, let me get this. Let me put this up here. Where'd it go? There it is. Yoda. When I am gone, the last Jedi you will be.
Yeah. So
interesting.
Well, the last
formally trained Jedi? No, that doesn't make sense.
No, because he's Boken, right? According
to right, yeah. Right? To the new terminology.
Trained in the wild. But yeah, I guess Ahsoka is active during Return of the Jedi. Presumably she's training Sabine around that time too. Like
that, yeah. I mean, we're gonna get there tonight too, but like
sort of earlier than I thought.
Episode 1, even in our prelude episodes, and the thing for me from the marketing was, I was most interested in what was the thing that caused them to have the falling out, and we get it on the nose.
Oh yeah,
this week in that scene with.
Yeah, it's super good.
Yeah,
super good.
But it pretty much confirms what we kind of suspected anyway.
I don't know. I think maybe that's sort of. I mean, there's certain plot holes you can't write out. That might have been the certain point of view stuff that Yoda and Obi-Wan blatantly lies to him. A pupil of mine turned to evil and killed your father. Like it's true. Like from a certain point of view, you're a fucking liar. I don't want to tell you I killed your dad, so
and your name's not Ben either.
I cut his legs off and left him to burn at the side of a lava pit. But we were really good friends, and he was one heck of a pilot.
Listen, he'd already lost an arm, and I just made it even set.
He was people were calling him Eileen at work.
Yeah.
So I don't know what Yoda meant there, but maybe that was like sort of the last of this. I mean, it's possible.
Right.
It's possible he doesn't know about. It's possible he only knows about Ahsoka Tano. And by that time, it's possible that he's out of touch with what's going on.
We know that to not be true. Because Yoda communed with Ezra in the World Between Worlds.
Yeah, but that's before A New Hope.
Oh, that's true. That is true. Yeah.
That's before A New Hope.
So with Ezra being gone out of the universe, out of the galaxy, that kind of does add some truth.
And you would think that Yoda would sparingly do that because he's in hiding. He's literally in a Dark Force cave because he's hiding from Palpatine. Is that Andy? I'm gonna go grab another glass of water.
All right. Well, then let's get everything set up here, and we'll get ready to get back to our regularly scheduled programming. All right, so just a few more seconds there, guys, as we get set up here, get Andy's notes all set up, and give you a little sound check. You ready for that? Check. Oh, you are checked out. All right, let's bring you in. What? There he is.
Holy. Sorry, folks.
That's okay, man. Hank and I were just talking before you got here. The big question, now that the series is over, we scored the show. Where are you at? A scale of 1 to 10.
10.
It is a 10 out of 10 for you.
It's a 10 for me.
You feel that it, so, and I said this to Hank, let me say this to you. A 10 out of 10 is a perfect thing.
Yeah.
You think it's a perfect thing?
I believe so.
That's very high praise.
Like, even the cliffhanger ending didn't leave me stinging too much.
No.
Like, I mean, yes, I want more, but I'm okay at the moment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ahoy.
Are you interested? I said to Hank that I thought that last week's question about will there be a recasting seems to be more like a who?
Yes, I believe.
Where do you fall on that?
In order to keep his story going, they need somebody that can deliver on the same level.
So Hank had an interesting thought.
Yes.
What about that
Video
story
game.
being handled in other media where a recasting is not necessary, like a video game or comic books or novel? Does that add more to the soup of like, why do I have to play this game? Why do I have to read this book? Why do I have to read this comic book? Or is that just okay?
I'm also totally fine with it just being left there for my mind to play with for the next 15 years. It's such a little slice of Star Wars.
Yeah, because they didn't devote much to either him or Shin in the final episode.
I mean, I've seen everything from he becomes Snoke to Shin Hati has just found the Knights of Ren, who were already active in the galaxy at this point, some other place. Like people are just
that the Red Bandits are the Knights of Ren.
The Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
No, that'd be kind of weird.
It's a little
really weird.
It's very weird.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't add the slides into the Tonight Show. I'm sorry.
Good. I just finished them. So,
well, that's okay.
Nice.
That's all right. Oh yeah. Okay. I see where we're going here.
Yeah. This one was brought to my attention by Hank, so I figured we should probably.
Oh, it's absolutely worth
because you know what, contributors, even the unsung heroes,
are
what make this thing we love.
And it reminds us, doesn't it? Like bring home like with all the strike and stuff. You can get that this is being produced by artists.
And she's also our age too.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing that kind of makes you go like, oh
yeah.
Like not only just artists, but like somebody who is as invested as Favreau and Filoni. Like they went back.
Big time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Firefly. Firefly too.
Yeah, that's right. Firefly and as well as Torchwood, the Doctor Who spinoff.
Yeah. So thought it'd be fitting to kind of throw an in memory of them there for Shauna Triptych.
Oh
yeah, super sad.
Yeah, it is too bad. We should probably talk about her a little. She was a member of the costume department.
She was. Yeah. She worked starting on season 2 of The Mandalorian, as well as the Book of Boba Fett and Ahsoka. She started her design career back in 1990 and built on scores of productions over the time. But she became a regular at Lucasfilm with the second season of The Mandalorian in 2019. So,
and it's a weird thing because of the lack of vowels in her name. It always jumped every time I saw it in the credits. It jumped out to me.
Yeah.
So as soon as I read the headline, I went, "Oh, I know who that is!" Like, oh.
But yeah, she was considered a Star Wars historian by her peers. Like she read every making of book she could find to better understand the techniques that they had used previously.
I could relate.
And specifically sought out material with discussions between George Lucas and the designers.
That's that whole thing, like that corporate knowledge thing, where when you strike a film production, you are essentially creating a bunch of little sub companies for the duration of that production.
Yeah.
And then when it's over, they're dissolved.
Yeah.
So unless you are a part of a major effects house or a costumer, are there costuming companies in Hollywood that are relied upon, or do you just go to these individuals who, this person is the costume designer that worked on this movie, therefore they would be appropriate for our
thing? There's definitely
so.
Houses, but I think for the most part it's contract work.
Yeah.
Lucas created the mold of I shouldn't say created the mold. He followed the mold of the old movie houses where everything was old, MGM Studios, everything
in-house. MGM, I was going to say that, yeah.
Right. And Lucas went back to that idea, trying to make it independent, like ILM and Skywalker Sound, where all these entities within, they sold individually to Pixar was the computer animation.
That's right. Pixar was a Lucasfilm company. Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, super sad, super talented. And I can't wait to see season 2 of Ahsoka with just painted cardboard boxes on people.
Yeah. Favreau's quoted as saying, "Her creativity brought this world to life. She will be deeply missed both as a friend and as a colleague."
So true.
Yeah. So may the force be with you, Shauna Tripsick.
As always, yes.
But on to here tonight.
Oh my!
Delayed a little while, but you know, do we want to kick off with a tradition?
Ooh.
Sure. Let me.
Go the key.
We do. Bad Star Wars jokes. Turn the slider up, Wes. Turn it up. There you go.
What does Kylo Ren serve at a dinner party?
What does Kylo Ren serve at a dinner party?
Tantrum cookies.
The blood of his enemies.
How about some first hors d'oeuvres?
Oh, nice.
I dig it. First hors d'oeuvres. Hors d'oeuvres.
Nice.
Well done.
So, guess we should get right to it here.
Sure, let's do it.
This one is part 8, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. Has a listed runtime of 49 minutes with titles and credits, but it actually comes in around 42:55 without. It's directed by Rick Famuyiwa, written by Dave Filoni. Originally aired October 3rd, 2023. If you happen to watch our live viewing party with us there last Tuesday.
Yes, we did.
But the synopsis reads, the heroes race to prevent Grand Admiral Thrawn's escape.
I have to say, when I saw Rick's name come up in the credits as the director, I was like, oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
He's a very solid director on these shows.
Yeah.
Man, the second I saw the title, I knew
exactly where they were going.
I didn't know what order it was going to happen in, but I knew what was kind of going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking on the title, it is a riff on the 1950 novel The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. And
I mean, the witch is the obvious part.
Yeah. Like you say, Hank, though, in the book, the lion remains behind in Narnia after killing the White Witch. Well,
right.
Yeah. Remains,
that's gateway. What I'd seen it after you guys, and I was messaging because you guys had watched it live, and I had some issues, and I was like, oh no, don't let Ezra be the lion. As soon as I saw that, I was like, no, don't let Ezra be the lion. Turns out, no.
I was thinking because at some point Aslan dies.
Well, that's that. I mean, yes,
right. I'm like, right, okay, who's dying?
That's why I was really.
That was in a future book, wasn't it?
True. That's true. Yeah.
Trapped in Narnia is bad enough.
Yeah. But after we get our recap, we open on a shot of the Chimera, and you can see there's only 4 small engines remain powered.
There's the shot you were looking for, Hank.
Yeah,
that is the shot I was looking for.
2 of the 3 main engines
won that argument.
Compromised completely.
We talked about this earlier, and this had come up where. Would
claiming its plot armor.
Would the Eye of Sion be brought into orbit to dock with the Chimera? And of course it was.
I mean, you look at the engines on the left and the center, and they're not going to fire. They're broken.
Yeah, 2 of them are destroyed utterly.
Yeah, that tells us that whatever power that they are running on is not enough to achieve orbit.
Yeah.
So that raises some interesting questions. Like, if they're running on repulsors, the repulsors run on batteries, generators. Fuel. You need fuel for generators.
They run on plot armium.
Yeah. So there's your plot armor question, not about how many engines are running. How are they running?
Ground up whale bones.
There it is. There it is.
Whale oil.
Built on the back of
lamp oil made from pearls.
Oh my. This just took a really dark twist.
On.
Dark Empire.
Thrawn's the greatest whaler ever known.
Could be.
Oh wow, that makes him an even worse bad guy,
isn't it? Yeah.
Oh man,
what do you think he's been eating for 10 years?
Oh, no. It looks like it. Oh, this is falling apart.
Couldn't resist. So sorry, don't mean to go off the rails.
That's all good. But at the top of the henge, troopers load the last remaining caskets into the Star Destroyer, and Morgan informs Grand Admiral Thrawn that the cargo transfer is complete. Which is kind of funny because they're still loading, but
they're still loading. Yeah,
close enough, I guess. Thrawn responds approvingly and then instructs Enoch to bring the Eye of Sion out of high orbit so it can begin the interlocking procedure. And Enoch informs Thrawn that comm scans believe they've located the Jedi ship, and Thrawn opts to dispatch 2 TIE fighters and if they find their mark, they can engage.
I saw some comments this week that sort of touched on what we were talking about, the status bar of the load-in. And I've seen comments that are talking in that 8,000 plus. So maybe that wasn't a percentage sign. Maybe it was.
Maybe. There's a lot more. Like we get a shot later that there's a lot more than there were in that little display.
And descriptive audio lady lays it down for us
as
well.
Oh,
perfect.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch it with descriptive audio this week. Well, I wasn't writing this week, so I'm like, I'm just going to be all raw and cold for this.
But Morgan postures that there's little the Jedi can do at this point to stop them, but Thrawn notes that many Imperials have underestimated what the rebellion was capable of, and that he himself fell victim to the actions of a single Jedi. Never again.
Wonder who you're talking about.
Yeah. Ezra. Thrawn then steps to the edge of the henge and tells the Great Mothers that their alliance has been quite beneficial, and the Great Mothers agree, and then cite their thanks to Morgan, who heard their dreams across the stars. They tell her to step forward as they wish to reward her with the gift of shadows.
So that's an interesting thought. Heard our dreams.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So is the line in this episode? Or was it in the last episode? Sabine says to Ezra, Thrawn woke them up.
Maybe.
Woke up the witches.
Mm-hmm.
No, actually it is in this one.
It is in this episode.
Yeah, it's later on when they're
so make sure we hit on that, because that's a big like
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to get ahead. I apologize.
No, it's all good. They ask if she is ready to accept this gift, and after a slight pause, she agrees.
Are you ready to be burnt?
Yeah.
Alive?
The Great Mothers draw in close and ask if she pledges herself to the sisterhood, to the magics, to the old ways. And this time, without hesitation, she agrees. Now surrounding Morgan, Actorpaw asks if Morgan abandons her old life for this new one. And again, she agrees. Then repeating after Lachesis, my loyalty, my life. Cloth Owl steps forward and Morgan closes her eyes, and she lays her hands on Morgan's face, and the Great Mother's thumbs cover her eyes. Her face begins to smoke as Thrawn watches on. Cloth Owl releases her, and we see a magical green fire still burning Morgan's eyes and face.
This is a cool moment, too. This is a straight up lifting. It's word for word the same speech that Mother Talzin used when she basically anointed Asajj Ventress back into the sisterhood. The sisterhood of the traveling robes.
Sure. As the green flames extinguish, we see Morgan's face now bears similar markings to the Great Mother, and her eyes are the same obsidian black as the others. Cloth Owl steps back, and the three Great Mothers raise their right hands, and a pillar of light flickers into existence. Smoke and flames erupt in a column as Morgan watches on. As the flames and smoke subside and turn gold in color, they form a sword as it appears in the middle. In unison, the Great Mothers call to the blade of Talzin, and they nod and implore Morgan to take it, calling her sister, which she does. As she holds the blade upright, green flames of magical ichor cover the blade, and Morgan bows before the Great Mothers.
Oh, wicked.
This is a very cool moment, and it raises a question. Is it the same blade?
I do not believe so.
Really?
I do not believe so. Based on this next slide here. I
wonder if it's like, because we talked about it in our group chat. Hank, you said like they summoned it from across the galaxy, and I'm like, is it maybe more of a conjuring than a summoning?
Yeah, or
like it's a straight up
had a really good
weapon?
point too. They summoned it out of the Force. The Force,
yeah,
doesn't care where you are. You could be 35 galaxies away.
Well, we definitely know that to be true for some
right
other
now
reasons. Yeah,
right?
And maybe what they summon is specific to the user. Because
perhaps the blade is a physical thing they summon, but the
hilt,
right, like a D&D spell, like this is Milf's magic.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, because the Blade of Talzin, it first appeared in the 9th episode of the 6th season of the Clone Wars animated series,
right?
Where Mother Talzin summoned it to duel with Jedi Master Mace Windu.
Good,
but
man.
The design here in Ahsoka, it varies slightly.
Oh, it is different, isn't it?
What the descriptive audio calls a bone hilt.
Whereas the scrimshaw.
Whereas the animated series had a hilt that resembled the face of Balmoral, the demon worshipped by the Frangal cult.
Well, that's interesting. Well, the show has definitely told us that they're not beholden to what's come before, because that whole Rebels epilogue
was slightly off.
I'm at the point now, and we've talked about this many times. I don't think we're going to get that again with her in a white robe and a big staff. I don't think that's coming.
No.
So
I think the staff might be coming, but that scene might not be coming. I think we lost a lightsaber. We're probably going to replace it with something.
Yeah.
That hilt looks a lot like a lightsaber hilt.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. Man,
I like it.
It's nice,
but
it's also a curved sword, like whereas the other her blade seems to be straight
scimitar like.
Yeah, but it has the same green flame glow.
It definitely has all that.
I mean, it has the same implications.
So maybe it's
you're gonna go toe to toe with a lightsaber. This is it.
Like you said, like using the D&D analogy, like Melf's acid arrow, or like that Talzin as a named person created that spell, and we are just invoking that spell.
Yeah, so the blade appears, or the hilt appears, however it has to.
One thing's for sure, Ahsoka's got it now.
That's true.
Sorry, spoilers.
Oh, can you imagine if that's it? I'm just going to keep it forever now. That's my replacement blade.
It's the new Darksaber.
Until she gives it to Marin. Sorry, I can't let it go. They're going to show up. Those characters are going to show up in live action. I don't care.
I saw coming off the rails again. I saw the actress who
plays Marin.
Right, voice, and her image is very, very.
They're modeled.
Mocap,
yeah.
She did a birthday greeting for a lady on that service.
Cameo. Oh, cool.
In full makeup.
No way.
Yeah. And I don't know if she wrote her own dialogue, bro, but the way she was speaking, oh man, it was amazing. Sorry, but yeah, what a great character.
She is Russian, so that accent is real.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, as we're going off the rails again. That's what we do here.
Yep. From the hangar behind Thrawn, though, 2 TIE fighters detach and fly outward to begin their raid. And we pause on Thrawn a moment before we cut to black and get our title cards.
That scene is right out of Rebels. The 2 TIE fighters drop out from behind him and fly off.
Yeah.
That's right out of Rebels.
We shift locations to the plains of Peridea, where we find Ahsoka's T6 hovering over the traveling group of Noti, and a Noti mother looks up at the craft as they journey along. Inside the ship in Hu Yang's workshop, Ezra solders a component for a lightsaber, causing some sparks. Hu Yang hands Ezra a component, but Ezra tells him it won't work. And Hu Yang scoffs at him with a, not going to work? What are you talking about? And Ezra tells him the blade emitter is too narrow. But the droid lets loose with a proper, like a senior moment, telling Ezra, look here, I've been teaching younglings how to construct lightsabers longer than you've been alive.
The emitter's too narrow, the super thin blades from Rebels. I
kind of wonder that as well.
I love that reference. Like, nope, I want a live action blade, essentially. Amazing.
Ezra tells him that's great, but he doesn't have time for lessons right now, and begins to rifle through some drawers looking for a component, telling the droid that Ahsoka wants them to go after Thrawn as soon as they're ready. Hu Yang responds that this isn't something you can rush through haphazardly. And as something falls on the floor, a frustrated Hu Yang yells out, stop that! Everything in here is organized. But Ezra counters, yeah, disorganized. And the droid continues that he has a system. But Ezra tells him he has a system as well, but Hu Yang corrects him, you, sir, have a method. Not a system or anything resembling a process.
Yeah, so good.
Just then, Sabine enters the door unnoticed, and Hu Yang asks, who taught Ezra to build a lightsaber anyway? And it's Sabine that answers, Kanan Jarrus.
I like this scene in that you almost are like, oh yeah, they've never met each other until now.
Yeah.
This is their first time sort of interacting ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, Ezra is completely unaware of, his credentials.
Yeah.
It's my favorite moment of the whole series, actually.
Oh, right here.
Coming up, yeah. Well, this whole scene, but specifically what's coming up.
Oh, well, I can agree with that. What a nice way to get that in there. Yeah.
Hard to pick one, but as soon as I saw it, I went, oh, man.
Ezra confirms this, telling Hu Yang that Kanan was his master and he taught him everything he knows. Hu Yang then tells Ezra that it was the droid who taught Kanan how to build a lightsaber. And this catches Ezra off guard, but everything now makes sense to Hu Yang. Ezra questions how he could have known Kanan, but Hu Yang tells him that he taught almost every youngling at the temple, including Kanan. all while using his multiple limbs to sort through various drawers and parts. Huyang goes on to tell them about young Kanan, citing that he was a clever boy, very curious and a little shy, but who could blame him, as those days were troubling times. Ezra asks just how old Huyang is, but instead of a number, he tells Ezra that he's old enough to know that the relationship between a master and an apprentice is as challenging as it is meaningful. Sabine's thoughts shift as she watches from the doorway, as Huyang hands a blade emitter to Ezra, who joyfully states, "That's it." Huyang tells them that he had 2 of these. Kanan took the first one, and he held on to the second in case Kanan ever needed it. But it's proper that Ezra should have it now. And Ezra gives Huyang a very sincere thank you and moves to install the last component.
What a great way to essentially recreate Kanan Jarrus's lightsaber.
Oh, it's amazing.
How do you have Kanan Jarrus in a show without having Kanan Jarrus?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Great way to do it.
Well, I mean, how do you... I don't know what I'm trying to say. Luke should become Obi-Wan. Like, that's the way of masters. Even Yoda, one of the better parts of the sequel trilogy is the failing of a master is eventually our pupils outgrow us. And this is that. This is like so perfect poetry. Love it.
The droid then looks to Sabine in the doorway, but she hangs her head. And with the last piece installed, Ezra examines his new weapon, then ignites the blade, which glows blue.
Who sat there, looked at the TV screen when he was putting it together, and asked out loud, what color is it going to be?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Blue or green, blue or green, blue or green, and it's blue!
Huyang congratulates Ezra, telling him, "Well done. Looks like you were a good student." And while perhaps not intending to, he inadvertently makes a jab at Sabine. Ezra begins to ask if Ahsoka ever taught Sabine, but as he turns, she's gone, and he lowers and deactivates his blade.
Anybody catch any of the backlash over Huyang had a bunch of crystals just laying around?
So that was my second question after what color is it going to be? As soon as it was blue, I said, where'd the crystal come from? So, sure, Huyang definitely could have had a few.
If he's got an entire room dedicated to building lightsabers, I guarantee you one of those drawers has kyber crystals.
There's a small problem with that, and the only small problem, and it's very petty, really, is that a Jedi's connection to his kyber crystal for his specific saber is a special relationship. And so it would probably take him time to connect with the blade if he ever really truly connected with the blade. But a more interesting idea is that there's no canon explanation of what happened to his old kyber crystal. He just starts using a green blade.
Was that not destroyed?
The lightsaber was destroyed.
Yeah.
But the kyber crystal might have just been pocketed.
I think there is an easier way, and I don't discredit that, because I think that's absolutely a perfect rationale behind it. But the idea that a Jedi's kyber crystal, it's a deeply personal thing. We know that the younglings at the temple are using real lightsabers, and you can't tell me that 5-year-olds made their own lightsaber. So they have to have a stash of them somewhere.
Sure.
Those ones, maybe
those training lockers full of bladed weapons, maybe they poached one that was just laying around.
And I mean, I guess you could connect to it over time. Like Ahsoka clearly is connected to her blades, who once belonged to an Inquisitor.
That's right.
So, right. So it's a small thing, but it was the second question that popped into my head. Where'd the kyber crystal come from?
Where'd that come from?
Box
took it off of Balin School's belt. Oh, wait, that's a green one.
But Ezra asks what happened between Sabine and Ahsoka, and Huyang informs him that Ahsoka...
Here it comes.
She became afraid that Sabine was training to become a Jedi for the wrong reasons after what happened on Mandalore. And being stuck on Peridea, Ezra didn't know about the Night of 1,000 Tears. But Huyang fills him in on how the Empire purged the surface of the planet, killing hundreds of thousands, including Sabine's family. He continues that at the time, Ahsoka felt if Sabine unlocked her potential, she would grow dangerous.
Can you understand, why Sabine might be a little resentful of Ahsoka at the beginning of the show?
Well, this is the same setup for Luke and Ben Solo.
But the difference is that she had already begun training her at that point and then went, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, she'd already accepted her as her Padawan learner and then went, no, but on second thought, maybe this is a bad idea.
But
I'd be like, what the hell?
But also, when she began to trust her again, and it was basically she wasn't trusting herself. Like she didn't
Ahsoka.
think she was qualified to be able to. She literally says to Hugh Yang, "I didn't have enough time to teach her how to make the right choices for herself." And that's the crux of her problem. Even back then, that's the crux. Because, but look, sure, the Force made her. That was the only choice she could take, and it's the Force's will, etc. But Ahsoka's probably not wrong, which is the scary part. Like, we know Sabine to be an angry young lady at
brash.
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 And so it's an easy thought that a fully trained Jedi Knight with a vendetta against the Empire could easily get twisted.
Go off the rails, just like us.
Go off the rails.
Like Vader. So she's not drawing from like zero experience. Ahsoka.
No, of course not.
Like, no, absolutely.
I don't want to put you down this path.
Yeah.
I mean, and you have to think that on some level she's, remembering the temple on Malachor going, I don't know if I can do this again, with the role reversal where my student's coming at me now.
Mm-hmm.
And then just like a child whose parents leave, you start to blame yourself, which is where we meet Sabine at the beginning of this. Could be being like, all inside herself and thinking it's something I did.
Yeah. Which that plays into that whole live or die thing. You've got to want to live, and not live in the sense that I'm going to, you can die, but like truly live your life, not just exist.
Let go, Luke.
Yeah. Exactly. Ah, so good.
But before we go too far, let's compare lightsabers here.
Oh, there it is,
man.
It's so
Kanan's
cool.
On the top and Ezra's on the bottom.
That's cool. It's got some elements of his green saber that he's given to Sabine with the stacked rubber on the hilt there.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that.
Now, Kanan's was a 2-piece, right? Because
Kanan's was a 3-piece.
Was it a 3-piece?
Yeah, because he kept it apart,
basically
on his
stashed on
belt.
his belt.
Yeah. The power cell at the back. Yeah.
He had blade length settings as well in his.
Yeah.
So.
Can't wait for a Force Effects version.
You're looking at the prototype right now.
Sell it to me now.
It'll be a Disney Parks exclusive. It'll be $600.
Yeah.
Outside the ship, Sabine steps onto the wing and folds her arms. Above her, a cross-legged Ahsoka sits and calls down, saying Sabine must be pleased. But she turns and tells Ahsoka she's more relieved than anything. Ahsoka tells Sabine that her gamble paid off, and Sabine surmises that Ahsoka knows what she did. Ahsoka confirms, then slides down off the top of the ship as Sabine turns away. The two stand slightly silent for a moment before Sabine notes that she thought she'd never see Ezra again. And Ahsoka agrees, citing that she might not have, should she have chosen differently. Sabine pauses a moment, then apologizes, and Ahsoka responds with a kind look, and I know. Sabine questions that Ahsoka isn't mad, but she tells her that over the years she's made her own share of difficult choices. Often no one understood her reasons except Anakin. She goes on to tell Sabine that he would always stand by her even when no one else would. And that's why no matter what happens next, Ahsoka is going to be there for Sabine.
So good, because she lets her off the hook where Anakin had to die, and then 10 years had to pass before they had an experience on the astral plane to get let off the hook.
Yeah.
Like, not only did she learn the lesson, she turns it over right away.
Yeah. Sabine gives a smile, and then Ahsoka asks if she's kept up with her training. She begins to answer with an I try, but switches to I do. And Sabine tells Ahsoka that she's gained better control over her lightsaber, but Ahsoka leans in and offers a secret, that being a Jedi isn't about wielding a lightsaber. Sabine jokes that in their situation, it does help. But
it's true.
Ahsoka tells her to train her mind and her body and trust in the Force. Just then the hatch opens and a smiling Ezra comes out on the wing with his new saber, imploring them to go, but his smile fades at the sight of two incoming TIE fighters. The TIEs open fire, striking the T6 below. Below, the No-T mother takes notice that the ship has begun to wobble, and Ahsoka calls for Ezra, and the two leap to the ground below, while Sabine rushes inside and joins Huyang in the cockpit. The droid informs her that they've lost the stabilizers thanks to the hit, and the engines spark and falter as the ship begins to fall. Ahsoka and Ezra use the Force to keep it from crushing the Noti tribe on the ground.
I quite like that, actually. Like they were catching it.
Yeah.
Like, and they look like they're like they're struggling with that.
Yeah.
Can we back up one?
Yeah.
I know I harp on this stuff because it's my thing. But like
the TIE
I want to talk about the TIE pilot for a second, because that as soon as I saw it, I had to go back and watch it again. The red embellishments on that TIE pilot's helmet. Now, was that a Thrawn thing from way back?
I don't know.
I don't think it was.
I would think it would be more in line with the current night troopers with the red bands.
Right. And I want to touch on that because it's different, because this is a paint embellishment, not a fabric.
It's not a ribbon or anything.
Yeah. Who else has that red embellishment painted on their helmets?
So there's an Imperial pilot early on with one red stripe down their mask. And I don't know if it's one of Baron Von so and so.
Is it the guy that's one of the racers in Resistance has that?
Oh, he might even have that too. But it's a Baron. He in Rebels, he's running a stupid bar.
Right
on Lothal.
I wish we had. I should have asked for one. I wish I had a split screen of this, but this is very much in line with what the First Order TIE pilots.
Yeah,
with the exact same. And I can't help but wonder. I'm putting this out there now, and I'm again wild theories, but hey, that's what we're about. The Night Sisters are going to play a much more critical role in the formation of the First Order, and I think this is an early indicator of what's to come.
I'm going to put a new spin on that.
Sure.
In a couple slides.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
The First Order TIE pilot right there with the twin red. Yeah.
Yeah. Sabine calls, where is it here? Oh, wait, no, I skipped one. No, we're there. Okay. Ezra calls for the Noti to get clear of the ship, but the TIEs swing around and strafe them again. Meanwhile, inside, Sabine jumps from the pilot seat and rushes to hotwire a panel, and Huyang tells her that'll only get her a short burst of power doing this, but she assures the droid that's more than she'll need. Sabine calls to wait for her signal as the two TIE fighters begin their third approach, and below, Ezra and Ahsoka strain to keep the ship afloat. Sabine cries now, and the ship rockets forward directly at the incoming TIEs. Too late for them to turn, the T6 shears the solar array ring from each of the fighters, causing them to crash and explode in the ground below the Noti tribe. One Noti throws up a claw and cheer, but the T6 engines audibly short out, and it dives below the hillside. Ezra and Ahsoka rush forward, and once they crest the hill, they see the ship partly buried in the landscape, but otherwise intact.
Once again, another visual reminding us that the TIE fighter is the cheapest made starfighter in existence.
Yeah. Sabine exits the downed ship and begins walking up the hill while Huyang surveys the damage. And when she gets to Ahsoka and Ezra, she simply states, "Got him," before walking across the floor to check on the tribe. We see a couple pods have taken a hit, but for the most part, they're safe.
It's the gravity of, I get it. It's as much as we laugh at that, like I think the humor is intentional there, because the reality is we just fucked our way home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ezra tells.
And she knows it. You don't need to tell.
What I mean,
that's what she's saying there. You don't need to say anything.
Got it.
Yeah.
Did what you wanted.
Ezra goes ahead and states it anyway. He tells them that he hates to state the obvious, but this will slow them down. But Ahsoka counters only if they let it, and she walks down to the valley below. With a curious look on their face, both follow Ahsoka. We transition now to Enoch entering the rotunda to inform Grand Admiral Thrawn that the TIEs had made contact and engaged. Thrawn asks for results, and Enoch tells them that they had reported a successful strike on the Jedi ship before they lost contact with the flight crew. Thrawn calls it an acceptable loss and to count those TIE fighters as lost. He also tells Enoch to mark those pilots for a citation.
Crazy.
And this is where I think
detail
might flip your theory.
In what sense?
In when he gets back and establishes the First Order, perhaps the new First Order design is like an in memory of these two TIE fighters who sacrificed themselves to get off planet.
I mean, the whole Brendel Hux thing is not lost on me, that Hux's father is on the Shadow Council. I mean, that's obviously a link.
And there's a character that we haven't seen throughout any of this, who's a major player, Grand Admiral Ray Sloan.
Yeah.
Who's a major player in the comics and all of the canon novels around the Thrawn era stuff. A major player on the Shadow Council. And if everything plays out like it should, she's going to execute everybody on that council and assume control of the Empire.
Interesting. So, Andy, you're suggesting that, going back to my original question, that was a specialty unit within Thrawn's, like his TIE pilots had that?
Yeah, and as possibly like part of this citation, once it gets back in the memoriam thing, all future TIE pilots would bear that marking.
Okay.
Or something similar.
That's cool. Right. That's a cool thought.
Anyway, he calls to see the last location of the ship and notes that the rebels' options are now severely limited. And knowing this, he orders a ground assault to be prepared immediately. And with his plans established, Thrawn marches out of the room. Enoch can step behind him. We shift back to the plains to find Ahsoka mounted on a howler with Ezra and Sabine on a second one. And they pass the down T6 where some of the Noti and Huyang work on the ship. Huyang looks up and quietly says, "May the Force be with you." We cut back to the henge where Morgan Elsbeth addresses a squadron of night troopers as Thrawn and Enoch approach.
Everybody noticed that she's got the hollow voice thing over top. Yeah, a little bit. Just a little bit. Although she didn't get all pale.
She leveled up. She's definitely paler than she was.
Did level up.
She leveled up.
She leveled up.
She tells them the blessings of the great mothers will protect them in battle, then asserts they go now and let no one pass. And with that, the troopers march off. Thrawn asks if these are the volunteers and if they've been made aware. And Morgan confirms with a yes, they were. And all were honored to make the sacrifice for Thrawn. But he counters that the sacrifice is for the Empire and the security of the galaxy.
I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah.
Very morbidly, well, only because we know what's happened. But
still, like 15 years, how long? 10 years, sorry?
10 years in exile, yeah.
And now he knows the Emperor's dead and Darth Vader's dead and the Empire has fallen and they lost the Battle of Endor. And none of this has been about him.
Interesting. Yeah.
All these machinations, all the survival, the troops loyal to him,
that's the counterpoint, though.
It's all about the Empire. That's crazy, especially in light of knowing that he's a spy.
I don't necessarily know if in the case of this group of volunteers, I don't necessarily think that they think at that level. I think this is the cult of Thrawn.
Yes.
Right.
Showing us how loyal they are to him specifically.
And sure, whatever he wants.
I agree, but the whole time he's the what am I trying to say? The personality in charge of the cult of Thrawn is just a cog in the machine of the cult of Palpatine still.
That's true.
It's crazy, actually. Yeah.
But Morgan bows her head, and with that, Thrawn leaves with Enoch in tow. Outside the fortress, Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine have arrived at the ridgeline, and they can see the Eye of Sion beginning its docking procedures with the Chimera. And Sabine notes that they're just in time as Ahsoka radios Huyang for an update. He replies that he's doing his best, but he's not promising anything. But hopeful, Ahsoka reminds him that he's kept the ship in the air longer than she's been alive. So that goes back to that one.
Oh, yeah. Talking about the shuttle, the origins of the shuttle.
It's not Anakin's.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
it's Huyang's.
Yeah. But cutting back to the cockpit, one of the Noti crosses two wires and receives a shock for his troubles. And seeing this, Huyang hangs his head and tells Ahsoka not to wait for him.
I love these guys.
Poor little Noti.
I love these little guys. I was half-assed expecting one to come like trundling out of the shuttle at the end of the episode. Like, are we going to get these guys into the regular universe?
When they're up close like that, those are fully puppets. Those are like fully animatronic.
Yeah. They look great.
So well performed and that old school tech. Love it.
Yeah. Oh, we got our comment coming in from TJC.
TJC, morning, gentlemen. Hope you're all are well. Yeah, everything's great, man.
Yeah, so far
we're just breaking down the final episode of the Ahsoka show that just ran for the last 8 weeks. Over, I guess, 7.
Best episode ever.
Yeah. Hope you are well. You are well, also, sir.
Ahsoka asks Ezra what they're up against here, and he tells her that Thrawn found this place. He woke the witches and rebuilt the Star Destroyer, and he notes it wasn't safe to come here alone. But Ahsoka notes he's not alone now and suggests they try the front door. And with that, the trio race down the hill towards the base.
That's so straight up
there. So there it is.
He woke the witches up.
That line, waking them up. Now, I had said, funny, the rest of the internet has since gotten on board with me. Nobody was talking about it when I said it.
Yeah.
And I stand by that. I had said, when we first saw them, I'm like, here's another theory for you. Suspended animation pods. He woke the witches up.
Which would just be like, hit the button.
Which ties right into, you heard our dreams. They were literally sleeping in the pods.
Yep.
They are saving the exit. Leaving Peridia is to save the species from whatever it is.
Right.
For sure it is. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So we don't really get any more Night Sister stuff.
Night Sister eating owls?
We don't get any Night Sister action visually anyway.
Well, we get a couple more really subtle nods in a little bit.
I was more referring to, by the time we get to the sequel films,
yes,
they're not even a footnote.
True.
Not even a footnote.
No. And I think some of the subtle stuff coming up here may suggest why.
Cool.
But meanwhile, inside the rotunda, Thrawn studies a hologram of the Eye of Sion as it docks with the Chimera. And Enoch notes that there's 2 incoming targets. And Thrawn says, good, rain hellfire on them. There will be no negotiating with the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. And we get a close-up of that hologram display, and we see a path of potential targets the rebels are currently speeding towards.
Those are impact zones.
Yeah, he's laying it out. They're riding right into it.
And what's this game so bad?
This is like Frogger, but 100 times worse.
As the 3 riders approach the structure, they pass under the lowest engine of the Eye of Sion, and as they clear it, they look up, and the Chimera begins to open fire on them. They ride swiftly, dodging incoming fire and explosions, and Ahsoka calls to Ezra to open the gate with the Force, and then asks Sabine to help out. So she outstretches her hand as well, and Ahsoka does as well, and all 3 focus on the gate as they ride forward.
Can I talk about some ship nerdy stuff?
Yes.
So this actually, I really like this, because if you are a fan of Star Wars video games going way back, I can't be the only one who looks at that and goes, ambiguous blaster bolts coming out of the hull of the ship, seemingly from nowhere.
And you're going to see it a bunch of times.
I'm sure that there's probably some gun there that's so small we can't see it, but it just harkens back to playing X-Wing and those other early flight sim Star Wars games where it's the blaster bolts just come out of the hull from nowhere.
Yeah.
There's a series of turrets. There's lines of turrets now that we're, squadrons. You have to.
Yeah. You got to get in close to see them, but they are there.
So they could be from turrets.
I'm sure they are. I just love the fact that it's so fast and it's so ambiguous.
It's like Spider-Man swinging above the city.
That's right.
Where's
that thing going to? He's suddenly like Wonder Woman. He can rope the clouds.
Yep. Thrawn watches the action from his holographic display with a crooked smile on his face. And the 3 rebels focus on the large stone gates, and they begin to slide open. More turbo laser bolts rain down on them, but they manage to get through the gates before it slides shut. And with what can only be a disappointed look on his face, Thrawn tells Morgan to dispatch the night troopers, while he will inform the Great Mothers that it is time.
Little snarly poo there,
yeah. He's not exactly happy about this turn of events.
Yeah, and just a very subtle. But it's noticeable. Below, groups of night troopers converge down 3 staircases as Ahsoka blocks their incoming fire with her lightsabers. Ezra and Sabine block as well, but Sabine catches a blast in her Beskar helmet, and Ahsoka tells them to fall back and draw the troopers out. Sabine takes another hit on her chest armor, and Ahsoka tells her to switch to her blasters. And with that, Sabine starts dropping night troopers while Ezra and Ahsoka continue to deflect.
It was a good move. It was a good move on her part to see that and go,
you're more effective here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it does well, because this opening allows Ezra and Ahsoka to advance, cutting down night troopers. All 3 on the offensive now. Ezra cuts down troopers while force throwing others. and Ahsoka slices her way forward while Sabine continues to fire from behind them. Ezra throws the last troopers with the Force towards Ahsoka, who cuts them both down as they fly past.
I did enjoy that shot, the way that happened. That looked so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They deactivate their lightsabers, but all is not well. And above on the henge, Thrawn watches as the Great Mothers chant in a circle. Below, a faint green mist begins to circle and enter the bodies of the fallen troopers.
Here we go.
They twitch and convulse, and their eyes glow green as they begin to rise again. Ahsoka asks Ezra if he's ever seen this before, but he says this is new to him. And Sabine sarcastically says, "Lucky us." Above, the Great Mother's eyes glow green with fire, and the troopers lumber forward, unfazed by the occasional direct hit. We shift to above, and the Great Mother's chants, they're increasing. Back below, the trio begin a defensive retreat up one of the stairwells as the troopers continue to advance. But each trooper that falls gets right back up again, one of them letting out just a horrific growl.
Yeah, they really captured the horror elements in this, I thought, really well. And I say that as somebody who can't watch a horror movie for the life of me because I'll have nightmares until for years.
Yeah, the lighting here, it changes considerably.
It does, yeah.
Everything is covered in more shadow, with the occasional blaster bolt or lightsaber providing the only light.
It happens a couple of times though, like where you say they keep getting up. And I there was one point where I watched a guy who had lost his blaster, got up and just kept shambling. And I'm like, oh my God, I would be freaked out.
Oh yeah, real good.
As they retreat upwards, Ezra doesn't notice a trooper coming out of a side tunnel, and he grabs Ezra, who calls for Sabine. She shoots two more troopers emerging from the tunnel before taking aim at the trooper holding Ezra.
I was yelling at my TV, "Don't let him touch you! Don't let him touch you!"
He's gonna bite him.
Unable to get the shot, she draws her lightsaber and runs it through the trooper, and then she deflects some incoming shots for more troopers emerging from the dark. And I don't think these ones coming out of the side tunnel are dead reanimated.
Hard to say because he closes the door so quickly.
True, but what happens here in a couple minutes will kind of shed light, I guess.
Okay, sure.
I wonder if do the rules apply to regular zombies? Like you gotta cut their heads off.
So watching this with my wife, and she's like, "You got to go for the head. You got to go for the head."
Strictly headshots.
That might be wrong. You know, when it happens in the real world, we're all going for the head, and maybe you got to shoot their big toe off. It's that Star Trek where Kirk kicks the guy in the groin, and it's like not every species has their groin and their
in the knees. In the knees.
It's
a good thing that guy had knees.
Yeah.
Not every species keeps their genitals in the same
work.
The upper flurman. No, you're thinking of the lower flurman.
Wicked.
But Ahsoka calls for the doors to be sealed, and Sabine slashes the control panel, sealing both doors. And with a moment of reprieve, Ezra notes that Sabine has some nice moves. Ahsoka says she's been training, and Sabine chimes in, "What's your excuse?" And Ezra simply says, "I missed you."
Yeah, well, it's so classic Rebels, though.
Yeah,
and I was find her delivery is like 15 out of 10 in this episode. Sabine,
it's a great moment of levity given how serious the situation
is right now.
But again, it is so much just like they were in the show. Like the troops are circling us, we are pinned down, but hey, still got time for a joke.
Yeah. Above, a mechanical whirring begins to fill the air, so the trio rush onward.
Love the audio in this, the whooshing of the doors, very classic Star Wars. The sound of when they would smack down and then the breaching charges, just like on the Tantive.
Yeah. Outside, the Eye of Sion locks onto both sides of the Chimera as closing large clamps into position with additional latches that shoot out between those clamps and lock into ports on the ship.
I quite like that. I mean, we've all seen the Star Destroyer before, and that central valley that runs down, that sandwiches the two halves of the clamshell together.
Yeah,
it's so cool. Like, we'll just plug into that.
Yeah,
I quite
secure it like quite nicely. Morgan approaches Thrawn and informs him that they are ready to depart, and he relays that the Jedi are advancing swiftly, enough so that they may make it aboard the ship. And he notes that they need a little more time. Morgan blinks before stealing a resolve and says, "I understand." Thrawn then states, "For the Empire," and Morgan bows her head again.
There's another line here though, because he's basically he's not telling her in so many words, "You're the sacrificial lamb." And then he does that. He lays that on her, "For the Empire." And as he walks away, she's like,
she gets her line here in the next
one. Oh shit. Okay. Yeah.
Thrawn turns to enter the hangar, Enoch behind him, followed by the Great Mothers, and Morgan bows as they pass. Morgan looks to the two Dreth troopers left behind with her, and she whispers, "For Dathomir."
Yeah, really.
And turns to ready herself.
Is that another nod to we're going to like repopulate the species?
I think so.
I mean, in Legends, at one point, like retrospectively, I mean, because we were introduced to them in the future of Star Wars, like, but they were part of the original Jedi. They were one of the planets that was landed on by the progenitors. I can't remember the name right now.
The early, them,
the ancient ones,
the crazy pyramid ships. One of them was at Dathomir.
The Fifth Element.
Yeah, those guys.
Something like that. Yeah.
Fair enough. But below, the three rebels hear something from the level below, and they turn to see the door blown open and night troopers streaming forward. Ezra slashes the closest panel, sealing the doors again, and they make their way upwards into the rotunda where Morgan Elsbeth stands waiting. She draws the blade of Talzin, and it glows green with fire. My only thought here is when the troopers come streaming through, they start moving at a non-zombie pace again.
So yes,
and they're utilizing explosives.
There's a guy that falls, and he does get up and keeps going. And I'm like, oh, okay, so it falls into that. And we kind of touched on this before, that maybe you retain your skills in life when you were animated as a Star Wars Night Sisters zombie.
Maybe. But I think that
when they were animating the living, in Rebels, when they possessed Kanan Jarrus and Sabine Wren, they both had their skill sets.
Yeah, they didn't shamble around.
No, like Kanan was like deft with a lightsaber. Sabine had her weapons. Like,
well, that kind of explains the whole Merrick thing.
Right.
Ahsoka tells Sabine and Ezra to continue on while she handles this. And Sabine refuses, saying they should stay together, but Ahsoka insists, as they must stop Thrawn. Hesitantly, Ezra and Sabine circle the witch, but Morgan makes no move and focus squarely on Ahsoka.
I just love the D&D analogy there, like, don't split the party. And they're like, we should stay together.
Yeah.
And the most skilled person there, no, we should split up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm making light of it, but it is kind of funny.
Well, maybe she had a vision and knows what comes next.
Maybe.
But as the two make their way up the stairwell, Morgan and Ahsoka face off, and it's Ahsoka who strikes first. But it would seem that at this point, they're evenly matched, each trading a few strikes before backing the other one up with strikes of their own. Sabine and Ezra reach the henge, and the two Death Troopers step out from behind their pillars, opening fire on them. The two heroes dive for cover as the troopers continue to fire. Sabine switches her blaster and tags one of the troopers in the chest, but it barely phases him.
Yep.
Ezra manages to land a blow, running the trooper through with his saber, but the trooper just punches him, causing Ezra to drop his saber.
I said this. I don't remember stormtroopers being so punchy.
But another punch from the trooper sends Ezra back and onto the ground. Sabine manages to tag the second trooper, causing him to reel, but as she makes her move from behind the pillar, she's met with a clothesline, driving her into the ground. On board the Eye of Sion, Grand Admiral Thrawn enters the bridge with the Great Mothers following behind, and the door closes behind them. The navigation droid tells Thrawn that their course is locked in, and Thrawn tells the droid to take them out. The engines of the Eye burst to life in a glow of blue energy. And again, we get to see that the Chimera's engines, they're
still not running.
There's only 4.
Still not running.
Below, still locked in her duel, Ahsoka hears the engine spring to life, and they pause only a moment before Morgan begins to strike again.
I like that. We could have a Star Wars villain, Mogan. Sounds like some guy who lives on alone on a planet by themselves.
Maybe he's the brother of Balin.
Mogan the Bogan.
Mogan the Bogan.
Above on the henge, Sabine, back to her feet, continues to fire at her opponent, striking the trooper square in the face. She shoots again, this time blasting away the lower portion of the trooper's helmet, revealing a decaying flesh underneath.
Okay, that guy's been dead for a while.
Yeah.
So there's a thing here.
Are we covering the origins of that?
Yeah.
I got that in a couple slides.
Okay, good. All right, good.
Yeah, because I'm got some thoughts on there.
Yeah.
But here, the trooper continues to advance, knocking loose her lightsaber, then her blasters, and tearing her helmet off before pinning her up against one of the pillars. Across the henge, the other trooper throws Ezra, who lands hard, but springs back up. He manages to land a kick, but the trooper dodges his punch and lands one of his own. So, with that revelation there from the helmet, Project Blackwing, which was responsible for the creation of undead troopers, also known as Death Troopers, it is completely possible that these are, in fact, troopers infected with that Blackwing virus.
Yeah, so I mean, these are two things that we're saying they're independent of each other. The Night Sister Night Troopers who are reanimated,
right,
versus these guys, which may actually have been
reanimated
biologically.
Yes.
So the first appearance of these
flesh,
first appearance of these guys was in the Star Wars Commander game. We talked about that earlier. When did this research take place?
The Blackwing virus originated in the 2009 Star Wars Legends novel Death Troopers, written by Joe Schreiber, but they say that Project Blackwing was in progress like 13 BBY.
Interesting.
So it was out there.
Well in advance of when Thrawn was exiled.
Left, yeah.
I wonder, was it one of the projects in Rogue One where she was scanning through?
It was mentioned in Rogue One, yeah.
Yeah, Blackwing. I think it was.
Was it one of the code names?
I think it was.
Everybody's gonna go back and watch that now.
I think it was. And certainly when the next scene happens, there's no green mist.
No.
You know, these guys have been dying dead a while.
Yeah. But then like after, I think it was 1 to 2 ABY, Palpatine started referring to his elite guards as Death Troopers.
Right.
To capitalize on these other undead troopers.
Right.
So here we go. From the novel, from the Rogue One novel, the code names that were spoken, they are Stellar Sphere, Mark Omega, Pax Aurora, War Mantle, Cluster Prism, and Black Saber.
Black Saber.
Yeah.
And this is an old the Orabesh in the.
This is an old Reddit post because they're asking if War Mantle could be Starkiller Base. No.
Project Screw Ilum over. It's cool, and it justifies that one helmet in the Rebel bar. In the Mandalorian, I think a couple of us honed in on the helmet and we're like, look at that thing. It looks like a zombie bite has been taken out of it or something.
What I like about it, and this is, it doesn't matter whether these are Night Sister magic or virus, is that when I was reading the canon entry for Death Troopers, part of their armor is that they have that weird sort of you can't hear what they're saying. That's intentional. They've scrambled their voices on purpose, which adds to that, like.
And I have it around here somewhere, the Rogue One source book, where they talk about them. They're genetically altered, like to be taller and bigger,
thinner,
lankier.
You could always link back to your crosshair theory, though.
We all kind of went, could be,
could be.
But like you said, Hank, even the descriptive audio lady calls it necrotic flesh.
Right.
So
what? But again, sure, necrotic. It's dead.
Yeah, but that's the specific term that they use for Palpatine's.
Yeah, for his undead trooper experiments.
Yeah, it's part of the acronym.
Scientists.
I don't know. I think the words necrotic flesh with an undead guy don't seem pretty. They don't seem out of place.
No.
Yeah.
But back with Sabine, she's quickly losing air, so she reaches out for her lightsaber with the Force, and it doesn't move. Then we get a very clear shot aside from that Death Trooper. And focusing harder, the hilt begins to rock, And then suddenly it flies into her hand and she activates the blade, piercing through the head of the Death Trooper, illuminating its eyes.
Hole inside his head, man.
Yeah. The trooper
So
releases
good.
Sabine and crumples to the ground.
Must not have been much left there between his ears.
No.
There could be some people on the go, look, there's Night Sister magic right there.
Oh, that's a type of green, but it ain't the right one.
I do like that. I do like the look of that.
Yeah,
I do. But I've liked the Death Troopers as a trooper type since the first time we saw them. I thought, oh God, these guys look awesome.
They do have green lenses.
They do. They do
have green lenses too. Yeah. I know a friend of the show, Colin. I don't know if he's watching tonight. Hope you're watching tonight, Colin. Texted me. He no longer works with me. He texted me after the episode and was like, my new favorite thing, zombie stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Seeing Ezra still taking shots from the other troopers, Sabine grabs her blasters and slows the trooper down with a couple well-placed blasts. And this gives Ezra the opening he needs to force pull his lightsaber to him. And he stands and spins his blade, removing the head of his enemy.
It was well done the way that the camera.
Yeah, because it passes through so you don't actually see it leave the body.
Yeah.
But we see the decapitated head of the Death Trooper roll across the floor on the other side of the pillar.
Even that is so very Star Warsian. We don't actually see. Well, mind you, we saw Jango's head come off.
Yeah.
We didn't see Dooku's head come off. We just saw it.
Yeah.
The head roll.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see the severing per se. It was sort of off camera.
Yeah.
Although if you read the comic book,
you had to saw through it for a bit.
But
I liked it.
With little time to waste, Ezra and Sabine rush towards the edge of the henge. And on the levels below, the night troopers have managed to blow through another door and they begin to advance upstairs. Sabine and Ezra reach the edge as the gangway is retracting from the landing, and the gap seems to be an impossible jump. Ezra sighs that they're too late. And we cut back down below with Ahsoka continuing to battle Morgan, who leaps and strikes hard, knocking Ahsoka down. But she pops back up just as a rush of night troopers come streaming through into the rotunda. They fire, but Ahsoka deflects, redirecting blaster fire at the advancing troops.
Well, that makes sense now that these are they were the volunteers because it was a one-way mission for them too.
Yeah.
Right.
You'd think everybody else would have been loaded onto the ship.
Yeah.
I never got the impression that it was volunteers to become undead. I thought it was volunteers to not
stay
come back
behind. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Also,
because I had made that assumption before I knew they were going to be undead, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a logical conclusion to make.
Right. Yeah.
It's not like they had to tell them outright, oh, yeah, by the way, once you're dead, you're going to get up again.
We don't tell them that part.
Yeah, that's not in the NDA.
Yeah.
They're not going to know anyway.
No. Well, maybe they will.
Oh, yeah. You're conscious.
They retain their full skill set.
Here's the extended show that we need, or in one of those.
Do Star Wars zombies have like,
my
God, what happened to me?
After everything's over, we just, the after credit scene is one of these zombies just laying there going, oh, man.
Now what?
What do I
just wanted to go home too.
How do I get this mountain off me?
I was a kid when they kidnapped me.
Yeah. Ahsoka begins to back up into the small alcove, offering herself some cover, but not slowing the troopers. And two night troopers rush the edge of the bay on the ship, still alive. And but they don't fire, assuming that, we're far enough away now.
Yeah.
Sabine says Ezra can make it if he jumps, and she pushes with the Force. And Ezra, hesitant, says, all right, and takes his mark. And with a running start, he leaps. But as he begins to arc downward, Sabine reaches out with the Force. And again, she utilizes it. She pushes him skyward. Awesome. He falls a little bit short of the top ledge, but he makes it.
I mean, this is an easy one. I mean, talking about refuting some of the backlash that's come out of this episode. Again, this is nothing new. I mean, Kanan and Ezra.
He's used to this maneuver.
Old Master and Ezra.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a new thing.
No, even
not a new thing.
Like you say, Maul there, right?
Old Master.
It's Maul.
You can call me Old Master.
He was better than Luke because he couldn't even look.
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to let people know that, in case I haven't seen it, I didn't want to tell people that he flirted with the dark side.
Oh, yeah. That's
probably
coming. That's probably coming up.
But the night troopers lean over to check, and Ezra leaps up, throwing one of them overboard. He turns to face the other trooper, but Sabine has already landed a shot with her blaster, and Ezra calls that she can still make it.
That's a fantastic shot with the pistol, by the way.
Yeah, that's a hell of a mark.
That's like, marksmanship of the exceptional caliber.
Yeah, up there with the crosshair version.
Force assisted, you might say.
Maybe.
But Sabine takes her mark, and she spies Ahsoka now on top of the henge, trying to fight off the stream of night troopers flooding the area around her. She pauses a moment and then rushes towards the edge of the platform. And the night troopers begin to surround Ahsoka as Morgan Elsbeth rejoins the fray, advancing and slicing the hilt of Ahsoka's Shoto blade in half.
Gotta be honest, I did not expect her to lose a lightsaber.
No.
Yeah.
Never saw that one coming.
But again, at this point, like, she's locked in battle. She doesn't know what else is going on. Ahsoka gets the upper hand again, landing Morgan on her back, but a killing blow is blocked by the blade of Talzin. Morgan rises up again, and the two continue, and she knocks Ahsoka back, and the two pause as the Chimera departs. Morgan tells Ahsoka that her friends are dead, and she will die here, alone.
Love this line.
And, like, the look on Ahsoka's face, right? She gives her a disgusted look. But out of frame, we get that hero moment, right? Sabine says she's not alone.
Yeah, she didn't go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and a look of shock falls over the face of the witch, and the camera cuts to Sabine, ready, lightsaber in one hand, blaster in the other, and she gives like a little eyebrow raise, like, oh yeah, let's go. And then Morgan bellows with a primal scream, telling the night troopers to kill her.
She is so angry.
It's a disturbing scream.
Yeah,
one.
She's so good in that.
Yeah. But the troopers move after Sabine, who begins to dispatch them one by one, leaving Ahsoka and Morgan to resume their duel. And with Sabine engaging the night troopers, Ahsoka and Morgan continue. And Ahsoka's got a renewed hope here. Like, in that moment when she gives the disgusted look, she's like almost defeated. But
you've given in to your rage, to your hatred.
About to give into it, but then she hears Sabine pulls right out of her.
Oh yeah,
and she's back on top with like the calm fighting style, not advancing through anger. And she manages to kick Morgan back, putting some distance between them. But Morgan's now kind of off balance, and she rushes in, but is countered at every strike. Ahsoka grabs hold of the hilt of the blade of Talzin, driving it into the ground at the center of the hedge, before rending it from Morgan's hands, and with a slice from her saber and the blade, she cuts Morgan down, who falls dead to the ground.
Twin cuts. I like the one of them is green. The green cut.
Yeah. Aboard the Eye of Sion, Clatho senses it and relays that Morgan is dead. And Grand Admiral Thrawn notes that Morgan did what was required, and there's almost like a hint of remorse in his voice, just like the smallest of hints.
I don't think he's, he's definitely a strategist, so he's always been a big picture guy, but like, man, like he put all his eggs in her basket that she was going to come through for him.
Yeah. And she did. And now she's fallen in service to him.
Yeah.
But on the hangar deck below, Ezra watches as the battle below gets further away, and a message comes over the dead trooper's comlink that reinforcements are on the way. He answers the comm and then thanks him for the heads up as he drags the dead body off frame.
That might be the most Rebels thing yet.
That's true. Because when he dragged, you're thinking
the phony voice and everything.
Here comes the
this is 275.
Affirmative.
This whole fight sequence on top of the fortress with Sabine,
she is so far beyond where she started.
Blade and blaster, like
she's not even looking in that shot that you have there. She's deflecting a blaster behind her.
Two
while she's shooting. Like
we started to see some of that
in the zone, right?
We started to see a little bit of that in the what do you call it, the Red Bandit battle.
Mm-hmm.
But now she's like fully switched on, and that whole blade blaster, I think that's going to be her thing going forward.
Yeah.
Like in the early Marvel comics, we saw Luke Skywalker do a lot of that blaster and blade in that in the Macquarie art in the hallway, and he's got the like that is so Star Wars.
Yeah,
and I'm all for it. Doug, did Morgan come through?
I'd say she came through for him.
I think she delivered. She
got the Eye of Sion there. They got enough time to get it loaded.
I mean, it would have to be her, or it would have to be one of those other, like Isan Isard or one of those other big ship guys from Legends, because that person would have to have intimate knowledge of
what they needed to get it built.
Right. In order, how do we build a thing that can dock with a Star Destroyer?
Yeah,
you go to someone who's built a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And then you look at he's the you want to use the chess analogy, and all these night troopers are pawns, and the three sisters might be, like higher up pieces, and Morgan might even be a bishop or a knight, but Thrawn is the player. He's not even a member on the board, right? He's the player.
He's moving the pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's nothing to sacrifice a bishop, say.
Yeah.
I do think that there is something there, though. I don't think that he's 100% separated from her, though. Like, he's not that as big picture guy he is. I don't think he's that detached from her.
Yeah.
It almost like he was, not that he had a hard time telling her that she's the sacrificial lamb, but he didn't say it in those words either, right?
Got one from TJC here.
Did you not think that Sabine was too good too quickly, though? She couldn't even beat Shin a couple of episodes ago, and then she's throwing Ezra into a Star Destroyer. Just a small niggle with it.
So Luke Skywalker could barely pull his legs out of ice against a Wampa, and then he went toe-to-toe with Darth Vader a couple hours later.
That's true. That's true. I mean, that's
Space Wizards.
So they're tracking at the same thing. The other thing is that they implicitly say that she was blocked, that she just needed to connect with it. And this is the thing that Ahsoka was saying: don't worry about your physical training. That's going to happen.
I think Huyen used the word. He used the words "if she was unlocked," if she unlocked her potential.
Right.
She definitely had her "do you want to live" moment when the life's getting choked out.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now is the time.
Yeah. So I feel it's a function of that. I feel like we're all blocked. It's
the Neo believing you are the one.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah. And knowing what her block was, and then Ahsoka giving her absolution in the episode before she goes lightsaber to her hand. It works for me. It really does. If a little kid with a broom can float it across
I've said this, and again, this goes back to my love of the expanded universe and other Legends materials. And I've said it before, and it's very innocuous. Sometimes you control it, and other times it controls you. And that whole idea of opening yourself to let the Force flow through you, you can have spectacular results.
Yeah.
I mean, there's even trained Jedi are better sometimes than others. Obi-Wan is getting his ass handed to him by Vader in the Obi-Wan show, when he has that you want to live or die moment, and suddenly he lifts a mountain up in the sky and throws it at the guy. Like
right. Which wasn't training related. It was
I am the high ground.
He was blocked again.
Yes,
I am the high ground.
Yes.
And it's all about your connection to the Force.
Right.
Sabine had the potential but could never connect with it, and in that moment she's connected with it. Now the taps are open and she can use it.
Luke Skywalker coming back into the flow and able to project himself across a galaxy.
Crazy powers.
So I'm not again, I don't get upset about this stuff. It doesn't bother me, because there is enough, as we've just discussed. I think there is enough building blocks there to support what it is that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And even if there wasn't, if this is the first time we're seeing this forever, to me, that's just the new thing. It's the new thing that's being introduced. And I think that's okay.
We know the way Jedi are supposed. This is the funny thing. We know how they're supposed to be trained. They're supposed to be taken as little babies, like Ahsoka was, and then brought to a temple and trained by many, many different Jedi and different skills and sets and stuff, and then taken as a learner, Padawan, for specific training by a specific master, and move forward in this like dedicated knighthood relationship. But we've never ever seen a Jedi trained like that. In live action, we've only ever seen the other version of that, which they refer to as Boken Jedi trained in the wild. So from our experience, every Jedi we've ever seen, Luke Skywalker, Leia, even Ezra, certainly goes from nothing to 100 in very few episodes in Rebels season 1.
Yep.
All of them go from 0 to 90 almost immediately once they're unlocked.
Very short period of time.
Right. So I think that's the norm. And I think that's maybe what people aren't focusing on, because that's actually the norm. It's exactly what happened with Luke.
I mean, the only thing close is Obi-Wan, but we come in like, 3/4 of the way through his journey, right?
Right. Yep. He's already ostensibly, you're ready for I am ready, Master. I can take the trials now. He's already a Jedi Knight.
He's a 20-year-old man who's ready to be
a 21-year-old Padawan. Absolutely.
Because you can't
get out of the nest,
Anakin's journey for normal, because he's starting late. and then his journey veers off onto the dark side.
Well, yeah, there is that.
But back to here. Below, Sabine and Ahsoka continue to battle the night troopers, but a beep comes over Ahsoka's comm, and she asks Sabine if she's ready to get out of here. Sabine agrees, and the two rush away from the troopers. And above, Thrawn issues an order that, focus fire on the base and prepare it for bombardment. And in the background, Clothouse, she seems a little bit caught off guard by this.
They don't look like they're like, this is like,
you're about to blow up my fucking sacred house? What are you doing?
It begs more questions about the actual building itself. Yeah. And now I want to know more about that inscription, the Kujet thing.
Yeah. Well, not only that, like all the inscriptions, even on the top of the henge, right? It's a pristine version of that henge on
on Cetos, yeah.
And another sort of indicator that they're just tolerating Thrawn.
Yeah.
Like he's a means to an end. They seem like bigger movers in the galaxy ostensibly than Thrawn, really.
I've been struggling with this, like this idea of, are the Night Sisters native to this galaxy and traveled to our galaxy, or are they native to our galaxy and have moved freely back and forth, and they are equally at home here as they were on Dathomir until whatever the greater power was that disrupted things.
Yeah, that's TBD, I think.
Right.
Well, Morgan does say that in her historical lineage, there were travelers before they knew to travel.
That's true. Yeah,
right. They were the ones that harnessed the Purgle,
and that Perdia was the ancient home of the Dathomiri.
That is also true. Yeah. It's still, again, if we go back far enough, are they an interloper species, or were they always here?
Based on the look she gives, like that, you just blew up something really sacred, right?
Well, so maybe there's still to come. We'll put a pin in it, but that maybe the Night Sisters have a unique relationship with the Zepho that we'll learn about later on.
There's a third game coming.
Yes. Cameron Monaghan had made that.
Let it slip.
Yeah, I don't think it was a slip. It was. We're doing
working on it.
Yeah.
See a little baby Cal Kestis and a baby Seer there, or a baby. Sorry.
I did not.
No, that would be great.
Right. A little Cal Kestis.
Little tiny half Cal Kestis, half Night Sister running around.
Wouldn't that be something?
But back here, the Chimera begins to open fire on the base of the fortress as Ahsoka and Sabine continue forward, dodging blaster fire. A wave of night troopers follow, blasting away. But the two women leap over the edge of the henge, and in a perfect Back to the Future 2 moment,
I do like
rise up on the wing.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Deflecting blaster fire.
It's very cool. What surprises me, and again, because this is played for the emotional beat.
Yeah.
The soldier in me said, those guys that ran up to the edge, why did they stop shooting?
Yeah.
There was no reason for them to stop shooting except for the emotional payoff that we got, which was well done.
Well, they're also
not like they could have hit anything anyway. I mean, they're stormtroopers.
Less thinking zombies, right? Like, they just jumped over. We're done.
Apparently, they can hit Mandalorian armor. Bing,
yeah. Like she uses that Din Djarin technique of blocking with your body.
Blaster sponge.
Yeah.
Blaster sponge. Excellent.
As the T6 continues to rise, the fortress begins to collapse under the fire of the turbo lasers, and Sabine and Ahsoka enter the ship and rush to the cockpit.
I do like the crumbly falling apart and how that it looks shatters. So good. Yeah.
And as they make it to the cockpit, Sabine asks if they can make it, to which Hu Yang replies he's rerouted all the power to the engines. Aboard the Eye of Sion, the navigation droid relays that they picked up the Jedi craft and it's closing. And Thrawn tells him to open a channel as the ship draws closer. And behind Thrawn, the Great Mothers hang their heads.
As like we're leaving. We're not coming back.
Or like presumably at the loss of this home.
There's something to that.
Yeah.
There's something to that for sure.
Yeah.
Also, not going to lie. There was a part of me watching this that was like, we're going to Millennium Falcon this thing and we're going to grab on.
Yeah.
Where when they dump the garbage,
he's going to hit them with a tractor beam or something.
And
yeah, because they come barreling out of the clouds and they do get close.
Like, I thought they were going to. I honestly thought they were going to make it. I'm like, oh great, everybody's getting back, and we'll pick up. Everybody's back.
Yeah.
Boy, was I wrong.
But over the comm channel, Thrawn commends Ahsoka on being a worthy opponent, and he regrets that They haven't met face to face, and now they never shall. He continues, still, I know you, because I knew your master. I concluded your strategies would be similar. One wonders just how similar you might become. Perhaps this is where a Ronin such as you belongs. And right now, like the T6 nears the destroyer, and it's so close. But Thrawn continues, today, victory is mine. Long live the Empire. And with that, the Eye of Sion jumps into hyperspace, leaving Ahsoka and company rocking in the wake of that massive jump. So close.
Excuse me, sorry.
But defeated, Ahsoka turns off the alarm, and the three sit quietly as the hyperspace trail dissipates in front of them. And later on, we see back on the surface, the Noti go about setting up their camp. But one of them points to the horizon as two figures come riding forward. It's Sabine and Ahsoka astride their howlers, and they ride forward with Huyang piloting the ship behind them. And the little Noti cheer. The two dismount and greet the surrounding nomads, but something catches Ahsoka's attention, and she turns to look. She spies the owl-like Morai perched on a rock, and as it takes flight and flies away, Ahsoka turns back to the Noti with a curious glance.
I waited an entire season for that.
And that's all you get. There's your Luke moment.
How long was I saying, why haven't we seen this yet?
Because he's not ready to tell her yet. We shift locations and we find Shin Hati on approach to the camp of the Raiders, and she raises her lightsaber above her head and ignites the blade. The Raiders all take notice, and Shin continues to hold her blade aloft in what I'm assuming is a show of dominance.
That is the symbolic, I'm your new leader.
Yeah. Look up here.
There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
There's from a certain point of view, when Balin says, take your place in this new empire, well, she just made her own.
Yeah.
She's going to carve out her own here, I guess.
Yeah, this is how it begins.
You guys know what this thing does.
First thing I do is need an army.
Yep.
Yeah. Elsewhere, Balin Skoll walks out along a rocky ledge, which turns out to be the carving in the side of the mountain.
As soon as you saw it, I mean, there was anybody who's watched those animated properties that we like to talk about, you knew as soon as you saw the mustache, and I'm like, that's him. There's no question in my mind. That's what
probably the only thing that made me go, you guys probably should have watched Clone Wars.
You know what though? I mean, the analogy to the big Argonaut sculptures in Lord of the Rings, if it was never any more than that, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, not everybody caught the Zeppo references. Not everybody, so there's many tiers of watchability to this. You might just like the lightsaber fights. You might like the student relationships, but
I did like that.
Yeah.
You might like the Noti.
Yeah.
I love the Noti, by the way. I love them. I love them little bastards. They're my new Ewoks.
A little bit harder shell, but still.
I'm going to be upset if we don't get them in an action figure, to be honest.
And
I will pay.
I will pay the $45. We need a 3-pack.
Yeah, seriously, the mom and the little baby, and then dude with the starbird around his neck.
Nice.
And then just package it with a little,
clamshell hut.
I love the fact here that he's had to cobble together some warmer gear. Looks like he's sewn leather, a beast that he's killed or something like.
So again, this is one of the things that I think this show, and again, I think people might be struggling with this. Things happen off camera that infer time has passed.
Yes.
He didn't just throw that together.
No,
he didn't walk there in a day either.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
He's nearing the end of what's called.
He's been out here for a while now.
And just like a good Dave Filoni epilogue, we have no idea when this takes place.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just before we jump.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
We pull back and we see that he's on the outstretched hand of a mighty statue, and there are two more statues, one on either side, but the head on one has been destroyed. Balin looks across the valley at a snow-capped hill, and he stares forward to whatever calls him.
Isengard.
Isengard. You can't really see it in the slide, but there's a light.
There's a light.
There's a light. It's like a vertical shaft of light.
Yeah.
You knew who it was as soon as we know that this is the father, the shot of the father. Interestingly, that the head of the
sister is the one that's destroyed,
is crumbled away. Could be symbolic.
Crumbled away, or is it something maybe the sister or the great mothers had done?
I don't know.
It feels pretty on purpose how intact those things look, how ancient they look. They're lichen covered,
they are,
worn down.
I mean,
certainly it looks like if one had crumbled, they'd all have some sort of fashion of crumble.
There's something else going on there too, though. There is a physical split
between
the shoulder of the father, and the daughter.
Like you can't get to the light side, the daughter, that way.
Right.
Yeah. So, but again, I think what's more interesting here, and I'll get you to move ahead one more.
Yeah.
Go back to your other one. When we look at that, that's out of Rebels. That's when we go to the world between worlds. When they figure out when Sabine figures out how to manipulate the thing, and Ezra goes up and does it. The father, with his pointy finger, it moves and he points to the door.
Right.
So, looking at the statue,
he's definitely pointing.
He's not in neutral point. He's indicating at something.
Yeah.
Presumably that light, whatever that light is.
If you look at
have you watched the Mortis arc lately?
Recently?
There's a temple that Anakin discovered, like lightning is crashing down. He's looking for the temple, trying to find the father, the source of all this mayhem.
Right.
There's a temple off in the distance. It's not quite this far, but it has a light just like Balin.
Just like that.
So is Mortis a place, or is it like the world between worlds where this temple could be,
that's come up this week, over the week. It's like, and I've read it. Some people think that Peridia might be Mortis.
Maybe
that they are the same place.
It's given a location on the galaxy map in Star Wars' official galaxy map, which is odd because I got the impression that you sort of woke up and you were there.
Yeah, because in that arc, there's there's no how did we get here? We don't really know how we got here.
Right. Yeah.
I find the whole thing fascinating. I really, at first I don't want another resurrection. We may or may not have gotten one. And I'm okay with it. I really wasn't a big fan of time travel. And we've been saying all along that no, the world between worlds is not time travel. It's something else.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. So, coming full circle to the Force gods, which I was not a big fan of when they were introduced. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, like if you look at the one on the top left there, it almost looks like an outstretched finger with the fingernail.
That's what I mean. Like the finger. Yeah.
Because
in
the pullback shot, you don't really see a finger pointing out.
Right.
It looks more like a fist.
The angle is
three fingers and one is outstretched.
Yeah. So.
And he's standing literally on the finger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's a brave soul for doing that.
Yeah. Because if the other one crumbled, I wouldn't want to be standing on that.
You get all the way to the top of this crazy finger, and then you go, oh, I still got to go halfway across the planet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It's the Angry Birds moment.
Just let me cross this mountain range here.
It's what so Angry Birds 1, where they're like, oh, we climbed up the wrong mountain.
So Balin's out there doing his thing. He's moving towards
whatever
it is that is calling to him.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to?
Do we speculate what's calling to him?
Sure.
So there's been a lot of stuff going on about Anakin as the father, and I think we even touched on maybe some of that during different.
Yeah, that Anakin might be the replacement for the three of them.
And I got into a moderate Facebook discussion. It wasn't really an argument. It was a discussion with a guy in one of the groups where he was like, rah, 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 this point of view. And I was like, okay, well, what about this point of view? Anakin's dead. And despite their power, the Mortis gods were mortal.
Well, they kind of imply that in that arc. They just say that this is the only place where I could control them.
And I'll also offer that while dark decisions have been made, nothing he's done here has necessarily been evil. Balin, I mean.
Balin? What, in the course of the show?
In the course of the show. I wouldn't say anything that...
Murder?
Well... Jedi
murder of
all the time.
That whole
the whole busting Morgan out of jail and murdering all those New Republic people.
It's a means to an end.
Sure,
like it's almost, it can be construed as neutral. It's kind of what I'm getting at. The most father-like figure in the show, exhibiting both sternness and command and the ability to destroy when he has to, and also this like tender caring, nurturing lesson giver to his student. He's the perfect candidate to replace the father in terms of what I've seen here. It fits better than Anakin. I know Anakin is a bigger character. The stakes are higher, but he's already come and gone. He's the chosen one. He's gone through that. Now he's part of the living force.
The father makes a point, though, of even talking about the chosen one, and that's why it recontextualizes what the chosen one is meant to do.
Right.
So right. I don't know if it works for Balin. I like the idea, though. I do like it.
I mean, it doesn't have to work for him in terms of their idea, but in terms of his personal, like, that's what I'm getting at here, is that not the Force choosing him to be the father or the Mortis gods choosing him to be the replacement. I mean, him seeing himself in that role, and that's what he's chasing.
Maybe.
But at the same time, it would be like one of those weird ironies if he becomes the father. Like, he's going there to stop this whole back and forth.
Well,
but if he becomes the thing he's trying to stop,
if he's trying to break the cycle,
yeah.
I mean, is he going to stop the thing, or is he going to release the thing? Because if the thing is one of the things that has been theorized, a Legends thing,
right,
it would potentially mean the end of everything.
Yeah.
So
how super cool would it be if there is time travel in terms of the world between worlds, and Balin Skull is the person that starts the Force?
Yeah, really.
Like, like, we could get crazy with it.
Well, let's call it what it is. In Legends, there is a fourth Mortis god.
There certainly is.
Called the Mother, or Ebeloth. And Abeloth, as the Mother, was this. She's different than the other three. She was elevated from normal existence into Force godhood, I guess.
Yeah,
but it drove her nuts. And she was basically a murderous thing.
Well, she did things she wasn't supposed to. So there's a well of knowledge and a pool of
right.
And she drank from a fountain that she wasn't supposed
to drink from.
And she bathed in water she wasn't
supposed to bathe in.
And she couldn't handle the knowledge and the power that they both gave her.
And it
drove her mad. And she became this semi-immortal Force demon that even they had to work together to continuously trap her.
Imprison her.
Right. And then whenever the balance of the Force would get out of whack, she would escape her prison and rain hell on the galaxy. So the galaxy is primed for her right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're out of whack still. Like, the Jedi are just trying to get their footing back.
That calls in. So then we go back to that whole, like, when the father talking to Anakin about the three of them, this is the only place I could control them. Is that the same case with Peridia? Was the only place where they could imprison her?
Maybe.
So I mean, again,
TJC says, I'm not familiar with the Abeloth story apart from seeing about the theory just lately, so it could be interesting. Yeah.
So I mean, in Legends stuff that's post like Cade Skywalker, like the grand,
like 100 years after,
right?
100 years after, yeah.
He becomes Darth.
Cadus. Yeah, I'll get to it.
I don't know that one.
Anyways, he's the they finally destroy Abeloth utterly, and it's like
outright
120 ABY. It's way in the future, but can't recall. It's been so long since I read those novels.
Cade lost his former master in a fight, but succeeded in resisting temptation, and as a Jedi killed Darth Krayt.
Great.
One
of his grandchildren becomes a Sith Lord.
Oh, wow, okay.
Could be one of Leia's kids, grandchildren.
I don't think she's getting any now.
Well, Cade is like a Cade. Nope, that's not right. I'm not going to figure this one out.
It's probably not an easy tell. The continuity wasn't exactly seamless.
He doesn't have. I don't think he has children. No, he's got his parents and a sibling as a half sister.
Who, Cade?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
In Legends, one of Leia's twins becomes a Sith Lord.
Yes.
Jason.
Yes.
Jason Solo becomes a Sith Lord.
And Jaina has to fight him.
Right.
I love that figure. That's one of my favorite friggin' Star Wars Black Series figures of all time, Jaina Solo. I just love that figure.
Oh yeah, so it's Jason Solo who becomes Darth
I'd have to go back in time, but there is a canon sort of destruction of Abeloth, and it happens way in the future from where we are now.
Right. I still think that the Zepho have a role to play, with that temple clearly being a temple to Kujet. Maybe it's the Zepho technology that is being used to contain whatever it is that's calling Rey.
Yeah, Balin. And speaking of,
comment from Darkholder says, while the loss of Ray Stevenson was super tragic and a loss for all, the way they left it opens a lot of possibilities of keeping the character alive, with the ability to recast, and it could be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm all for it. I've never been against recasting, and I know a lot of people rag on it, but I consider Spartacus, the Andy Whitfield to Liam McIntyre, to be quite successful. Although the ratings apparently would disagree with me, it was still a good show.
There's all kinds of
there's Marvel, right?
That was a case where it was better.
Yes,
can't argue with that one.
Who? Sorry,
Rhodey. Don Cheadle coming in as James Rhodes.
They recast Bruce Banner twice.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
each time
James Bond gets recast every couple of movies, so
right, as he ages,
that works. Right? Yeah,
so there's yeah. I mean, I'd be okay with it. I'd also be okay with, like we explored
another
show,
form of media.
Another form of media is a perfect way, and I know we might piss off the people that want everything sort of just in theaters and in linear fashion, but we're way past that to sort of argue those points. It's a huge entertainment empire, and the story is so vast. I don't think I'd want it any other way. I like going. I missed a line of comics 3 years ago, and I didn't know this part of the story. Cool. I'm never going to run into Star Wars.
We live in an age where, and I've said this before, there are people that exist on our Earth right now that have never known life without The Simpsons. So if you can't get behind animation as a viable form of media, well, that's kind of on you.
Yeah.
Not saying that it has to be an animated thing, but
no, absolutely.
I'm always down for more Star Wars animation.
But I mean, you know,
maybe
it's the same people though that are like, I don't like watching cartoons that are in theaters on day one watching the Avatar movies.
Oh yeah. Guess what, folks? All done on the computer.
Newsflash.
Hey, season 3 of The Bad Batch is the last season. Do we think that Lucasfilm is gonna cease animation properties after that?
Is that being made by the same studio that folded?
I don't know, but I know they still have extra studios elsewhere.
Well, that's what I mean.
That's very true. That's very true.
You know, there's
I'm
no
wondering if
why.
it's that Korean studio that folded.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, we covered that on Random Fan.
We did, yeah.
But I suppose we should continue on.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We're not done yet. Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Yeah. Back in the galaxy, we all know the Chimera enters frame on approach to a red planet.
I do love the framing on this. It's so beautiful. Good. Yeah.
As they draw closer, the Eye of Sion forms like a perfect frame within the planet's outline. And aboard the ship, Grand Admiral Thrawn and the Great Mothers overlook a balcony as Enoch enters. And he tells them that they've arrived at Dathomir. And below in the cargo hold, according to a descriptive audio lady, thousands of coffin-like containers stand in stack.
Thousands.
As troopers move about.
What did I say in our thing? Something like roughly in the realm of 4,000?
Something like that.
Yeah. I'd be interested to know.
You'd need a wider shot.
We're not going to get
even with this shot, it is still cropped at the top and bottom.
Somebody did like and I can't see it here because our shot's pretty small, but like if you took these larger blocks, the one that you can see, you know, it's a 1, 2, 3. It's a 5 by 4. It's a 5 by 4 by however many tall.
Yeah.
You know, you could count the blocks.
And again, but then you're only getting what's visible to us, right?
Still, you know how I like numbers.
A rougher number, yeah.
But if you kind of take the you take the back rows because you can see beside them and there's nothing. So if you take those as being a full row and then extrapolate down, there's at least 10.
That'll be a fun one. Maybe we'll do a social media post for that one.
There we go. But elsewhere in the galaxy, we see the shuttle that the false Jedi used on approach to Home 1, flanked by 2 A-Wings.
Again, stuff happens off camera.
Yep. And as the craft comes in to settle in the bay, Hera and a large security patrol arrive. The landing ramp opens, and amongst the smoke, a night trooper comes down the ramp, and they all lift their blasters at the ready. But it's Chopper that rolls forward, and the night trooper lays a hand on the droid, and he looks up and removes his helmet, and it reveals that it's Ezra Bridger. And Hera just looks on with shock, and she calls his name, Ezra? And he responds, "Hi, Hera. I'm home."
Oh, man.
Loved it. I want to talk about this.
Yep.
Before we move on, because this was another one that kind of people were taking exception with. And again, there is no way that he got that close to the Republic fleet. Now he's under escort, 2-fighter escort. They've already encountered Balin's shuttle, so they know potentially what they're dealing with.
Yep.
I firmly believe that they've already made radio contact, and he's already said, "This is Ezra Bridger," and they're like, "What?" No. It's why Chopper immediately, without having spoken a word, immediately, what the fuck's going on? Of course it's him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, also the general in command of the ship isn't just hanging around in the hangar.
No, they're
What
like,
do you mean?
Okay, security detail, let's go.
Well, that's Home 1, so Akbar's up there somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, right. Well, no, but I mean, like, she's pretty high up in the show. Like,
yeah, of course she is.
General I sort of fully agree with you that they're like, okay, somebody impersonating Ezra is about to land.
Right.
Yeah,
so they're
about to blow somebody up.
They're, not making the mistake they made at the beginning, bring these so-called Jedi on board.
Yeah.
By the way, love how that's framed. It's exactly how our series opened, and it's how we end the series with the same shot coming onto the hangar hangar floor.
Yeah.
But of course, they send down like exponentially more security forces. Hera's at the front because it's like, what, Ezra? No fucking way.
And none of them have anything holstered. It's all ready.
No, they're ready. Like whatever trickery this bullshit is,
we're ready to go.
And then of course he takes the helmet off. It really is me, and that's the reaction we get from her. Ezra, like she didn't believe it herself until she saw him.
Yeah, right.
But you can't tell me for a second that he didn't announce himself. This is Ezra Bridger,
right?
Yeah. Please let me.
Lando Calrissian or Jabba the Hutt.
Or Jabba the Hutt, yeah.
One of the three.
Right. Yeah. It's Hondo Anaka. No Hondo this season.
My best friend is a Jedi, I think.
All right. I'm sorry. I had to get that out of the way.
That's all good. But we cut back to Paradia, and Sabine brings one of the Noti a small metal box, and she looks past the encampment and spies Ahsoka staring off in the distance.
Staring at the bone rings.
Yep. She strides over and tells her that they're almost packed. And Ahsoka tells Sabine she did well, but Sabine questions if she did, because Thrawn escaped. But Ahsoka tells her because of her, Ezra went home. She smiles at Ahsoka, and Sabine returns that smile with an "I hope so." But Ahsoka assures her he did. Ezra is where he needs to be, and so are they. Ahsoka lays a hand on Sabine's shoulders and tells her it's time to move on. Then they make their way down the hill, and Sabine pauses for a moment, looking back at the skyline. And Ahsoka asks, "What is it?" And Sabine starts to say, "Well, I felt." But then she dismisses it as nothing more than shadows and starlight and begins to walk back to the encampments. This is the second time she's done that.
Felt something?
And then just dismissed it.
What was the first time?
When Ahsoka called to her.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So again, she's like, yes, she's connected to the Force, but she's still not.
So are you going where I think you're going with that?
I don't know.
What do you think that she's sensing?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think she's sensing Anakin.
Sure either. I don't believe that. I don't believe that for a second.
No.
I don't think that Sabine is sensing Anakin Skywalker. I think she's sensing whatever else it is. The bigger thing that's.
Well, I think in the same way the Force ripples around things, like
maybe
you feel a disturbance in the Force, you could feel a good ripple and not understand it.
I guess so.
True. But Ahsoka pauses a moment as well, and then gives a smile and ventures back to the camp as well.
It's the Luke Skywalker at the campfire at the on Return of the Jedi, and you kind of do that. Did she see him or not?
Yeah, I think she did.
Yeah,
but in the distance we see a figure ringed in blue, and it's the Force Ghost of Anakin Skywalker.
Now that's
smiling,
legitimately Force Ghost. Yes,
yeah,
yes. And I'm not gonna get into this. Oh, they upgraded it. The Force upgraded his robes. No, it's what it is.
Yeah,
it's Force Ghost.
We cut to black.
Oh,
thus end the season of Ahsoka.
Listen, I don't mean to harp.
Show ever.
So listen, you know where I'm at on this.
Yep.
I can't give it a 10 out of 10. I can give it a 9.9999. I can't give it a 10. Is it the best? It's the best season of Rebels ever.
It fired on all cylinders the entire season.
I will not deny that.
With that one breath right before the ending, like you said, Hank.
But I was the Andor apologist amongst the three of us, more so than I think you guys were, and it still ranks up there pretty high for me. It's the Civil War of Star Wars for me.
Here's how I feel about Andor, and I don't want to take anything away from it because it gets my 9.99999.
Yeah.
But you could almost take Andor and tweak it and have it not be a Star Wars story at all, and not even lose a strip of meaning or beat of impact.
Yep.
It could be a revolutionary story about any war.
Yeah.
But Star Wars is always better with lightsabers.
Oh yeah, I can't argue with that.
Right. So while this just edges it by the slightest amount, there's so much about Andor that I love. The tone, those corners of the galaxy that we did get to see.
Like the untold story we didn't really get to focus on because of lightsabers.
But if I had to pick, if you put stories in a shoebox and went, you're going to pick out randomly. If I didn't pick a Jedi story out and it was the last Star Wars story I ever got, I'd be disappointed if I didn't get a Jedi story.
Yeah.
You know?
If anything with the Ezra thing, the only thing that I want to know, and I'm not saying that there's a problem with how it was presented, things happen off camera. I have a harder time sort of getting to, he was able to steal the shuttle and leave the Star Destroyer unharassed. That I have a harder problem with, because even if he did pull off it's me, TK, blah, 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 blah,
he could have left.
When do they let?
He could have hopped out in hyperspace and kept going.
That's a bad idea. That's a very bad idea.
Well, he's still in local space. He'd keep going.
Let me fix that one for you, though.
Yeah.
At this point, though, it's still Balin and Shin's ship. So
that's
it
true.
Wouldn't be tracked by the Empire, wouldn't be accounted for.
Oh, I'm talking about Thrawn, Admiral. There's an unauthorized launch from the main hangar.
If he just,
you know what I mean?
Like forced the ship out and just drifted away.
I actually thought about that. Did he like the Men in Black, Will Smith with the chair across, dragged it into space with his brain, and then fired up the engines and drove away?
I know a lot of people are like, how did he find the fleet? But the fleet is probably around Chandrila or Coruscant, so that's not that big a leap.
No, I mean, there's outposts all over the place. You know?
Right.
I mean,
can you direct me to the nearest republic?
So there's a new government in town. Can you tell me where they're at?
Your leader.
You don't know me, but I built this government.
So when Ezra left, the seat of government was still on Coruscant.
Yeah,
sure.
And it's still on Coruscant right now.
Yeah.
So conceivably, he would know enough to like plot a course to Coruscant.
Yeah.
I'll get picked up at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a great show.
Also, we don't know how much time has passed. Once again, epilogue. That could be 3 years ago, and maybe we're going to get the story of how he got there.
I don't want to see Ezra for 3 years in Stormtrooper armor. That probably smells real bad.
We probably smell real bad.
You know, the hyperspace trip takes at least 3 days.
Right.
Based on
how yeah. They got 3 days to load the bodies, and Ahsoka showed up on day 2.
2.5 or so.
Yeah.
2.5, but she was already out for a day.
That's right. So they had a day.
There was a point where they were, they were in that special hyperspace.
That's right.
At the same time. That's right.
Yeah.
So
So our next Star Wars live action Star Wars series coming up, by all accounts, is going to be Skeleton Crew next year, and apparently it might have a change in dates, an earlier release.
Neat.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Fixed.
Yeah. The Bad Batch is still looming out there somewhere when we get back to that, but we definitely will be covering all those. But oh my gosh, Ahsoka was so much fun to cover. I can't believe that it's
already here and
it's over.
Done.
But we're not over.
No,
we're not over. We've got lots more coming your way. Now, the Sunday night live stream may be paused for the next little while we work on some short form content and pad out our channel that way. But that's not to say that we won't be back with a regular infusion of something very, very soon. So keep your eyes peeled to our social media, as well as our the community tab on our YouTube channel, where we will be keeping you all in the loop about what's going on. And Andy and I, at the very least, will be back every Tuesday night for Random Fandom, because that's a show that just feeds itself. And I can't give up live streaming entirely. So we will be back Tuesday night, tomorrow. Jesus.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, for Random Fandom, as it makes its return to the regular Tuesday night slots. Hope you guys enjoyed the live streaming watch party. If you'd like us to do more of those, let us know, because there's all kinds of stuff coming out here that we could be doing that with.
Yeah, Loki just dropped this past week.
That's right. First episode of Loki. Anybody watching The Wheel of Time?
Have not seen that one.
It's good.
It's
good.
Yeah, I have just more problems with it, but it's good.
I didn't read the book, so I'm totally.
I'm huge.
Good.
Yeah, I'm a big book guy with that
Doug.
one.
Doug says, loved the live. Okay, good. I'm glad that went over very well.
Yeah, we have to do another one because I missed that one, so I want to do another one.
We'll repeat the whole thing just for you.
We'll just watch Star Wars. Watch A New Hope. Live stream it.
We'll be MST3.
Here's the thing that I was thinking, and let us know out there if you're interested in something like this. The way we deep dive on things that are brand new.
Oh yeah,
you've never seen us do that with a property that has existed for
an older
while.
Property. Yeah,
and I recently rewatched The Empire Strikes Back and found myself watching it like we watch these shows.
Isn't that something?
So it's funny that you're like, oh, there's an Easter egg, but it's like that's the birthplace of the Easter egg. Although that's not an Easter egg. There are tons of those things that you can sort of reverse engineer and go, oh,
that's where they pulled it from.
This is the first time I've seen that, and it's here, and here. Like,
yeah.
It's almost like a backwards way. So I don't know. Let us know out there if you guys would be interested in us doing something like that in a live review.
Well, for a little show that started as not a Star Wars show, it remains the crux of our of what we do here, and probably will for the foreseeable future.
I do have 5 Indiana Jones figures over there. So
Indiana Jones was a fever dream in the carbonite.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Listen, I hope everybody enjoyed this series as much as I did. I know that it was so much fun doing it with you guys. I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else.
So good.
Yeah, but we'll be back on Tuesday, and Sunday nights will resume at some point. I just don't know when. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I would have
the movie or the series.
Oh, see, I've seen the movie.
Hold merit.
I've not seen the series.
7 seasons.
I'd have to.
There's a recasting that worked.
The whole.
Yeah.
The whole thing. The whole thing. Yeah. All right. Well, that's an interesting one.
Better than Teen Wolf's recasting.
Teen Wolf 2.
Can't get better than Marvel.
Teen Wolf 2, TOO. Teen Wolf also.
Yeah.
And the television show. Horrible. Horrible.
The animated series?
No, there's like a live action horrible.
Oh, the new one?
The new one.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we can discuss this. We can talk about this offline and throw some together.
2.5
All right,
hours.
everybody, listen, we'll be back soon. I hope you guys had a great time. Keep an eye out on our channel as new stuff is coming very soon. And for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Hank.
And we will see you on the next one. Then bye for now.